What's good, party people? This is Voodoo in the Woods. I'm According to Woods, and he is former U of MMA champion Pius Lobo, better known as Voodoo Maximus.
I
And
just want to say I'm very happy to be here with 8 or more a day Woods. It is what it is. Show us, so it shall be written, and so it shall be done.
yeah, dude, I mean, you are speaking the language of one Jay Baptiste, who actually took on the franchise player Bad Blood, the OIWA North American champion, at last night's traditional wrestling entertainment taking place and emanating from the De La O Jiu Jitsu gym in Stanton, California, because that guy has that manifesting and it is written and what have you. So I'm just saying. And shout out to everybody at Traditional Wrestling Entertainment. That was an amazing, amazing show last night. But also an amazing show. There was a lot of fucking punchy, kicky, slammy stuff, right? We had Clarissa Shields defend one of her titles in the UK and then get in Jaw Jack, a potential challenger. A Brit woman, and she was all like, I came to you, and you all you do is fight fucking bums. You a bum, and whatever the fuck. And show me your gold medals and shit like that. It was fucking live and in the living color. That shit was Damon Wayne as fuck. But also we had the UFC fight night, Strickland versus Hermansson. That is Sean Tarzan Strickland and Jack the Joker Hermansson, just in case you were wondering. But and Shaman Steve says, good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon, Shaman Steve, and all of you guys that are watching us on the Voodoo in the Woods platform, the According to Woods platform, as well as bodyslam.net platforms. And we thank all of you guys for chiming in those places. So, with that all being said, Strickland versus Hermansson, that was the thing. And then as a little bit of a extra, I guess, a hot take, as they say, we're going to talk about the Joe Rogan debacle, which he's been in a lot of debacles. So we're going to talk about a few of them. But before we get to that, we have the very first fight of the night. We have, and shout out to fucking Rafa Esparza, because we have a fucking verbal tap submission. Malcolm Flash Gordon beats Dennis Boyer in a fight that we thought, at least I thought, Malcolm Gordon was not going to win. But this ends up happening, unfortunately, due to a unfortunate happenstance. Let's talk it through it.
It was what it was. The fight commenced. I believe it was an overhook, some sort of interaction between Gordon and Bonda, and his elbow was wrecked in the process, and the fight had to stop, which is an automatic KO for Malcolm Gordon because his opponent couldn't continue. It was an unfortunate event. These are the consequences of playing this game. It's a very dangerous game. Lives have been lost, limbs lost. This is why I am so adamant about, when these people, these fighters, when they finally become victorious, take the time to use that microphone. Take the time to build your platform. Take the time to chase that bag, as the kids will say these days. Chase your money. Because, this guy didn't bank on his arm being ripped off like it did. It was disgusting. But it was what happened, nonetheless. I'm sure he trained months and months for this fight, and this is what happened. So, shout out to all these fighters for risking their lives and all. And the saga continues. The show must go on, like Vince McMahon will say.
Yeah, Vince McMahon says a lot of shit, and yeah, and you were talking about the kids talking about chasing the bag. Well, guess what, Voodoo Maximus? When I was a kid, I used to chase the bag. Like a fucking grocery bag that would just be flying in the wind when a gust of wind fucking took it and whatever. And I got called a fucking dumbass, right? Because hey, I might have chased the bag into the street, got hit by a fucking car, and the rest they say is history, right? So it's weird.
Hey, little did they know that you were far ahead of your time.
And behind on my fucking classes and intellect, but that's another story for another day. But Fight Life Nation, and shout out to Fight Life Nation because a little birdie told me from Fight Life Nation Productions, they are going to be producing a podcast covering the Southern California MMA scene. So go ahead and check out for that. And if you haven't already done so, follow him on social media as well as the forthcoming YouTube channels. So shout out to Fight Life Nation. But in regards to Clarissa Shields, I hope Clarissa sticks to boxing. She's so damn good at it. It's not that I don't think she could succeed in MMA, but she would really have to commit to it. Yeah, and you know, you know what? As a guy who was told like, you can't talk about pro wrestling and MMA, and then you can't talk about MMA and pro wrestling and shit like that. I kind of take a little bit of offense of like where people say a person can go and not go, and especially if people are.
I can't hear you. Check your connection. The cord.
Go talk.
Got you back. Okay, so Fight Nation, I believe was the name.
Fight Life Nation.
Fight Life Nation. Thank you for that. I hear your point, and I feel your sentiment, but let's look at the reason why she even stepped over to MMA in the first place. There is no money in female boxing. She's looking for money. She went to the PFL because they're doing $1 million contracts, and she want to be a part of that. It is what it is. If there was enough money in female boxing, of course she wouldn't go anywhere, you know. And this is what Francis Ngannou was talking about. Give me the bag. I mean, Chad Mendes is about to fight for bare knuckle fighting, and he's about to make more money than the UFC heavyweight champion. This is what it is. That unfairness. I guess that's the word. I hope that's the word. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. That lack of fairness, you know, is what's going on, and this is what drew her to MMA in the first place. One, and two, she wants to challenge herself. I'm not mad at anyone that wants to challenge themselves, take themselves to that next level. For her to step over, I mean, look at all them boxers. Not one of them is stepping over into MMA because they know better. They know their place. She chooses to go beyond, over and beyond, knowing the dangers. You know, we should commend her for that.
No, 100%. And Shaman Steve says institutional oppression. No, absolutely. You know, it's like that. You know what they say with the animal: you put the fucking cage in front of them, whatever, and then you take the cage away, but they still have like, fuck, I can't go past here. You know, I think that's a beautiful way of putting it. But here's the fact of the matter: I like chaos, right? I mean, we wouldn't be fucking talking about, you know, MMA or pro wrestling or anything that happens where you could, I mean, just collateral damage. You're gonna get fucked up. That's Joe Rogan, and again, we're going to get to him later. But he was like, I've probably the history of man, right? The whole evolutionary chart. I've probably seen more people getting fucked up than maybe. I mean, we're talking like maybe Genghis Khan levels of fucked up, right? So that's saying something, right? So I like chaos, right? I don't want boundaries, right? If Ariel Hawani is talking about talking to pro wrestlers, if Joe Rogan has Undertaker and Diamond Dallas Page and Jake the Snake Robbins, guess that a wrestling, quote unquote, wrestling podcast would fucking kill for, and they're doing his rather than a pro wrestling podcast, that's whatever. When when MMA people are stepping into pro wrestling, when pro people, Chris Van Vliet, right, and Renee Paquette, right. Van Vliet is just completely independent, and Renee Paquette, different name. Renee Young was in the WWE, married to John Moxley and what have you. She was the WWE's Megan O'Leary, and it's funny because they're friends, right? But she ventures into any fucking different space, right? And same thing with like I try to do with my podcast, right? I want to talk to everyone. I guess I started out in MMA. I love MMA. My fucking roots in terms of my fandom is in pro wrestling. And fuck yeah, we're gonna talk about that. But let's say, shout out to the good brother Eddie Torres, who also likes MMA and pro wrestling. He just had Brandon Boyd from Incubus, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty fucking big get. He's not
Mm-hmm.
talking about MMA. He's not talking about pro wrestling, whatever. They fucking had a 30-minute conversation, and that's just what Brandon Boyd's time allotted. And I encourage you guys to go ahead and check it out on our RBG podcast, where on
Mm-hmm.
wherever you might get your podcast from. But if he just stuck to what is his bread and butter, they wouldn't have an engaging conversation, right? They went fucking, talking about psychedelics and going to a conference about it and what have you. That those might not be in vogue in UFC. Well, funny enough, the UFC, which they banned things like psychedelics and what have you, years ago, even weed, which is legal in most states in the country, which whether you do it, whether you don't, that's your own choosing or what have you. But they're teaming up with Ian McCall, as somebody that they fucking threw away, right? One of the most compelling flyweights in history from WEC as well as the UFC. Challenged Mighty Mouse grip of times and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And psychedelics changed his life, right? Now UFC is adopting psychedelics and marijuana and CBD and all the and crypto and all of these things that weren't vogue even 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, right? So I like, especially with the internet, I like that everything is just fucking wild and willy and shit like that. So Clarissa Shields, she wants to fucking fight Lethway. Let's fucking do that. She wants to go fucking play
Right.
soccer, And if it's not her, if fucking Kid Rock started off as a rapper, now he's Ted Nugent's best friend. But I digress. Like Ted Nugent, Eminem, and Ted Nugent all came from Detroit. At least one of these things are not like the other, right? So with that all being said, I like that shit. I've got a fucking Johnny Cash fucking deal along with Zangief and a
Mm-hmm.
fucking stuff
Mm-hmm.
from you know
Mm-hmm.
Ghostbusters. You can like a shit tons of things, and especially if you get people to pay. Maybe she's not satisfied, right? How many times have we seen athletes kind of fall off the fucking wagon, right? Because they've been doing it their entire fucking life, right? And in
Mm-hmm.
amateur boxing, much like
Mm-hmm.
amateur MMA and amateur
Mm-hmm.
anything, especially in the Olympic level, you're elite of the elite of the elite. But here in this country, that don't mean shit. That don't
Mm-hmm.
mean shit. It's almost like an Oscar. You work your way for an Oscar, whatever, and you're like, I reject my Oscar. Cool. Here's $1. We're gonna buy your fucking Oscar, the shit that you worked your entire fucking life to achieve. Here's $1. Same thing with the gold medal. The gold medal in itself doesn't pay. It's what you do with that notoriety, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the fact that
Mm-hmm.
even we kind of take it for granted because it happens so much and use it as a fucking platform to go into the other, but going from amateur to pro, you spent your entire career up to this point, let's say, I don't know, 12 to 18, 6 years, right? That's just whether it be boxing, curling, whatever the fuck, whatever your sport is, right? You become an Olympic athlete. You spend those years training in that, making fuck no money, no money
Mm-hmm.
at all, but requiring everything to come back in, right? Well, maybe after doing that and testing your metal and literally we're talking about clearing out divisions. Clarissa Shields is one to clear out the fucking sport, right? But if she wants to become, she's on a different path. She wants to be the most dominant combat sports female athlete of all time. So if that's the case, if that's her goal, the Olympics, all the world titles that she's won thus far, and I think she's still in her early to mid 20s, means shit. She wants an MMA belt. She wants a kickboxing belt. She wants a left leg belt. Whatever the fuck. And if they're willing to
That's
pay,
right.
fuck it.
That's
And
right.
I love these weird deals where like Paulie Malignaggi, right? A fucking world class boxer during his time, champion and what have you, and he gets fucking pieced up by fucking Artem Lobov, who's literally fucking the Conor McGregor's shoe, and he gets pieced up in one of the greatest fights in bare knuckle fight history. And Artem gets a fucking rub from that, like it raises the acclaim of bare knuckle versus boxing, and it wasn't too far, too long ago rather, that MMA had the same thing where they brought in a James Toney. There are other promotions. No, yeah, there are other promotions that have brought other athletes of other reputable sports to come in and test their metal. That's literally what the fucking Gracie challenges were about. Like we got jujitsu, whatever the fuck you got. You're a boxer, you're a barroom brawler, you're whatever. That is literally the invention of the UFC, the need of the UFC, right? In its early days. So I like it. I like this course. If Ronda wants to go fucking make money WWE, if Brock, you know, Bobby Lashley wants to fucking do whatever the fuck, like do it. Do it. Because you're earning years as a competitive athlete, but yet specifically in the combat sports realm, it's very finite. You might have 8 years, start to finish. Right?
That's right.
She has 8 years plus in.
Yeah. You know, in life, that's pretty much how the cookie crumbles, man. You know. So I hope we answered your question, Mr. Nation. And we're gonna move on to the second match of the night.
Oh, actually,
I'm sorry. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
before we get to that, he's like, in terms of the Malcolm Gordon injury, that was an early
All
elbow
right.
injury. It looked dislocated. Gordon said that he felt something in the armbar. So later, when he knew his opponent was posting himself on it, he leaned hard on it, and that's fucking not great. It's not great, not great at all.
Hey, it comes with the territory, man. You know.
Which is
Yeah.
again, what if that guy fucking did boxing? What if he did pro wrestling and shit like that in a time, whatever, or started a podcast in a time where he's going to have surgery and have to have some recuperative time, have something else coming in, Twitch stream.
Hey, hey. Just about 2 weeks ago, there was a similar incident in pro wrestling. The masked individual, I believe, was power bombed or something, and
Oh, Ray Phoenix in
yeah,
AEW.
yeah. He posted his arm and he crushed it right beneath his weight. I mean, these things happen, man. You know, these fellas are warriors, and warriors go into the den, the lion's den, knowing possibilities, what these possibilities, these outcomes can be, but yet they take that chance. You know, this is why we admire them. This is why we look up to them. You know, it's not because of their genius, it's because of their heart.
Absolutely, no, 100%. And Shaman Steve says knowledge is no ledge. I like that.
Mm.
I like that. I like that.
Shaman
But
Steve is at it.
yeah, well, and we're gonna get into the main event, but Bruce Rob Trouter literally sprinkling fairy dust, alluding to what we're gonna get to. Right? He says Sean Strickland's next fight should be versus his own demons. The guy's a fucking nutcase, and Sean's next fight should be with his mind in a shrink's office, not in a cage. I don't disagree with you though. And again, I mean, you've got this fucking
uh,
finite window before those demons actually fucking catch up to you. So I'm just saying, fucking fight while you can. Which, speaking of fight while you can, the Fresh Prince Phil Rowe beat the Vanilla Gorilla Jason Witt by KO in the very second round of the fight. Man, Phil Rowe, the Fresh Prince, man, at a time where there's revamped Fresh Princes on the Peacock Network and what have you, right? Phil Rowe adopts that moniker and it proves pay dirt. I'm sure it's more than just the fact that he's the Fresh Prince that he won, maybe training and everything like that. But I want to fucking believe that it's because he got Fresh Prince and then Will Smith is producing a Fresh Prince remake on Peacock. That's why Phil Rowe knocked out the Vanilla Gorilla.
and the Vanilla Gorilla went in there, giving away length, height, reach advantage. He knew that. He comes from a good team. I forget the Claus. That's his coach, or one of his coaches. Um, he went in there with the right game plan. We're gonna close the distance. We're gonna take this fella to the ground. We're gonna keep him down. We're gonna submit him if we can. We'll beat him up. You know, steal the rounds. Do what we have to for 15 minutes. But unfortunately for him, Phil Rowe is well versed in the art of wrestling takedown defense. So he was taken down in the first round, but it didn't really wear him down as his opponent planned in the Vanilla Gorilla. So second round, he got him down, but couldn't keep him down. Now we're on our feet. Now Phil Rowe, being the master of distance that he is, understanding his gift from God, he was able to create that space and maintain it, in which he kept throwing those long rangy shots, those ones and twos, eventually landing a two, which ended up being a three, and then he finished him off with that two. A 2-3-2 combination, drops Mr. Gorilla, puts him out, the referee steps in, and that was all she wrote.
All she wrote, I want to know, it's all she row your boat in Phil Rowe's victory. Which, you know what? The Fresh Prince, right? A African gentleman, right? A gentleman of African descent, facing the Vanilla Gorilla, right? Maybe this is a prelude. Maybe they knew the whole time. Maybe Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard knew the shit that Rogan was going to get into this week and was like, he made a Planet of the Apes reference, and it was a bad one at that. Let's put the Vanilla Gorilla against a African gentleman, and let's see what the fuck happens. I don't know. Until I am proven wrong, that's what I'm going to choose to believe. And everybody's got a choice, and everybody's got a price for the $1 million man. But in the next fight, we have Jalton Halton. I don't know. Is it Halton? No, that's Spanish. Would be the J, would be the H or whatever. So Halton Almeida.
Halton Almeida.
Halton. Like reggaeton. No.
Halton.
Yeah. Halton Almeida against Danilo Marquez, right? And it was Jalton Almeida's fucking night, man. KO. KO over his fellow Brazilian Danilo Marquez. This, you know what? We had two back-to-back KOs, and neither of which was the performance of the night deal. And funny enough, there was only two performances of the night in this particular night, which kind of sucks for people on the card, especially in the same kind of press cycle that Chad Money Mendez is actually saying that he's, like you said, Voodoo is making more money than the UFC heavyweight champion in his last fight. Yeah, I just, but Danilo gets fucking squashed by his fellow Brazilian.
Hey, this was a very good match. Folks, take notice, especially those of you in the 205 division, the light heavyweight division. Take notice of Halton Almeida, because he's here and he's here to stay. The man has only lost twice, one unanimous decision and one knockout. And that was early on in his career. He's here to stay. He understands his gift from God, and that's mastery of jiu-jitsu. Built like a African god. I was going to say Greek god, but he ain't Greek. He African. Built like a African god, just chiseled, 6 foot something, real tall. His opponent also, Marquez, was pretty tall. And it wasn't about height. It wasn't about height. It wasn't about reach. It was about one man's mind crushing the other. Immediately, Almeida went in there. He stood in for a split second. As soon as he saw his opportunity, he went straight for that takedown, took his opponent down, transitioned very well. Sooner or later, he was able to secure that mount, and then he starts the hammer fist. The hammer fist was plentiful. I mean, it wasn't really that bad, right? Perhaps the referee could have let it go, but it didn't seem like the man was going to get out. It didn't seem like he was going to escape from the position he was in, and there was still 2 minutes and 57 seconds left on the clock. Get out of here. The man was pounding your face in. The referee saved you. You still have a career. Just be happy. Danilo wanted to complain, but I saw no grounds for his complaint, as though he is Brazilian. He had no answer for Almeida's assault. So therefore, KO, so it was written.
Yep, it was definitely written in the books. But speaking of the books being written as far as the UFC female bantamweight division, Alexis Davis writes another chapter in her history, uh, basically besting a tough and a pretty upstarting Julia Stolorienko via unanimous decision. Like not one
Mhm,
round going to Julia, unfortunately. And we were talking about the accomplishments of one Alexis Davis, and
mhm,
especially how she, with the records that she has, she's literally gone through the phases of you know female bantamweight relevance, right? That would be like Dr. J, right? Playing in the 70s in his peak, somehow by fucking I don't know, unnatural methods or whatever, stuck through the 80s in his prime still into the 90s, right? And he
mhm,
basically took a position where and a prominence where the sport wasn't really doing well, and the athletes weren't being financially compensated, and riding it right into the wave of financial, not just compensation but prominence, right? And this
mhm,
is
mhm,
essentially what Alexis Davis has done. She was
mhm,
fighting on those like weird, grimy South Dakota cards where the promoters probably, especially as a female, probably wanted like horrible things of these female talents and what have you. Obviously, I don't want to allude to anything, but these are the dark days of women's MMA, and she rode
mhm,
that in with the fucking Strike Force shit, and you know, Ronda Rousey fought Ronda Rousey in Ronda's claim to the title or title defenses. Um, you know, so hopefully she's hitting pay dirt, but still proving that she is top tier, condition and athlete, even in her what could be her twilight years as an active fighter.
Yes, yes, indeed. Everything you said, 100%. Her opponent, Juliha, very good striker, very good striker. Seems young, seems she's still working through understanding balance. And when I say balance, balance that meaning energy allocation. Um, Alexis Davis did a very good job of pressing her and pushing her and pressing her and making her move, forcing her to use energy she didn't plan on using. And this was key to victory for Alexis Davis. In the first round, Julia was able to secure a couple of arm bars. You know, it looked pretty bad, but the Alexis Davis seemed to be very flexible in the elbow region and didn't tap. So a lot of energy lost there, but the fight continued. Moved on into the second round. Alexis Davis more pressure. The cleaner strikes came from Sororenko, but the persistence and heart and grit of Davis sufficed, and she won the match. Especially that third round, it was very convincing that if the fight was to go on, there's a good chance Alexis Davis could have killed this chick. So therefore, I have no problem with that unanimous decision victory.
Yeah, I don't condone killing anyone. So see, it's not like I'm wearing a Josh Barnett literal axe in a skull t-shirt, what have you. But yeah, don't kill anyone. But yes, impressive performance. Even still, in terms of adversity overcoming, in this kind of phase of her career.
Mhm.
Um, this is it's fucking tremendous. It's fucking tremendous. I hope when all is said and done, she will be enshrined in the UFC Hall of Fame because again, 30. What's her fucking record? It's 21-11.
32?
Yeah, 32
32
fucking
fights?
fights.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
damn good god, it's amazing. So but moving on, speaking of a guy that has been long outside the UFC's bubble, is Chidi Bang Nojukani,
Mm-hmm.
where he fucking KOs Mark Andre Barrial in 16 seconds of the first round, earning himself a $50,000 bonus, one of two
Mm-hmm.
that would be handed out on this night. So,
Mm-hmm.
man, again, Chidi as well as his brother, right, have long since wanted to get into the UFC and what have you. I think Chidi went the LF, he was in Bellator. I mean, come on, he's 21-7. 21-7. What the fuck does a guy have to do to to earn the right? And I mean, RFA, Tachi Palace. He's got a loss to Brandon Thatch, but Brandon Thatch was a bad motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Shut your mouth.
exactly, right. So Max Payne Griffin, beat him in Tachi Palace. This, I mean, what the fuck do you have to do? Like he was in there with John Salter. I think that was like a Bellator championship fight, if not that, then a title eliminator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Went through
Mm-hmm.
LFA after being in Bellator and featured pretty prominently. You know, Literally, I don't want to say LFA is a step down, but definitely you could have, got a short notice fight in the UFC, but he went I wouldn't say traditional way, but like he went the way he basically let his ego just calm the fuck down. And he's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I want to get into the fucking UFC. LFA, cool. You're the number one fucking developmental league. Cool, we'll fight there. Oh, Dana White, you still haven't seen enough of me? Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Dana White's contender series. All right, I'm gonna fucking beat the shit out of somebody just to earn the keep, right? And he does it. His UFC debut, and he gets a $50,000 bonus. I think this is poetic
Mm-hmm.
justice in the best way.
That's right, man. That's right. Chitty chitty bang bang, straight up. Went in there against Mark Andres, and they pieced him up. Hit him with that 1-2. Nice long rangy extension all the way to the neck. Like you're supposed to. Firing these shots with the hips, stealing the energy from the ground, traveling through the legs into the hips, distributed like UPS, sorted like UPS and FedEx into the fist. Hit him with that 1-2, clean on the button. The first one stuns him, the second one puts him out. And that was it. Cheetah was like, I didn't even know he was going to hit him like that. But thank you, Now, let's look at this Cheetah character. He's been everywhere, following his money. He's not chasing some belt. He's not chasing some belt. He's following his money. If the belt comes, it comes. Where are they going to pay me? That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. Now that he's gathered all his tools and his craft has been sharpened to a fine peak, now he's back. And he came to the UFC and he's like, yo, ultimate whatever, contender, whatever. Take this W. Now I get my shot on the big stage. Take another W with a bonus on top of it. This is what we're talking about. He gets a chance to get on the mic. I'm coming for that belt. Hey, man, I'm not mad at it. Though it's another Nigerian up there. This is the kind of language you want to start speaking if you want to make money. He's speaking that language already. You know what I'm saying? He shouted out his whole team, his brother that put him on. You know what I mean? What else can you ask for? This is utilizing your platform like you should. So there you go.
Yeah, big win for Chitty, who I've been
Mm-hmm.
a fan of for a long fucking time. Like
Mm-hmm.
definitely the Tachi Palace days. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled, And again, he knows he's on borrowed time. He's wasting light,
Mm-hmm.
right? Wasting daylight. So he needs
Mm-hmm.
them big money fights, and he needs them soon.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
obviously he's not going to say, but the injuries accrued, you know, having the fights that has brought in prominence to a lot of us who are hardcores and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
You fucking do it. So you might as well look at the fucking tallest peak in the fucking land, and I'm gonna climb that motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to Chitty, man. And again, $50,000. That ain't bad.
Mm-mm. Not on your first match. I
Mm-mm.
mean, he's probably gonna get paid like what 30 to fight because of his experience. You know what I mean? They'll probably give him 30 to fight, 30 to
I
win.
hope so.
On top, I'm guessing. On top of that, he makes 50. So leaving there with 80 to 90 G is not bad at all. Not, I mean, it could be more, but when you do the math, he doubled up.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I'm not mad at it. So,
Mm-mm.
get your money, Chitty.
Mm.
And speaking of like Chitty getting the money, well, Hakeem Dawodu didn't want to be. Am I? I mean, obviously Hakeem Dawodu. I mean, coming from Canada, but what what part of Africa would that name kind of note?
Daudu. That seems to be Nigeria.
Oh wow! So back
Daudu.
to back
Yeah.
Nigerians.
Yeah, straight up. That seems to be Nigeria. These fellas seem to be first or second generation American or Canadian. You know what I mean? Um, they can definitely jump on a plane and go see great grandma or grandma or where they're buried. They know exactly where it's at, if you know what I mean. So these two guys are definitely Nigerian. Injokwani being Igbo, Daudu. If he's not Igbo, then he's Hausa. I don't think he's Yoruba. He's not Yoruba for sure. Based on that name, I mean, he could be Yoruba. You know what I mean? It could be Daudu. Hmm. It could be. It could be. But he's Nigerian for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so back to back wins for Nigerians, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria, as they say, stand up, right? 16-second knockout in the first round for Nojukoni, and a unanimous decision for Dawudu over Mike Trizano. And Mike
Mm-hmm.
Trizano, damn near perfect record. He was going into this 9-1, and
Mm-hmm.
Dawudu basically, like, hey, you thought that one fight that that marred your undefeated streak. You thought that was a fluke. No, no, no. I'm gonna make sure that shit is here to stay. That you're gonna get used to losing if I have anything to say about the fucking ordeal. So,
Mm-hmm.
Dudu, what did you think about the performance of Hakim?
Hakeem displayed fight IQ, one, and he also displayed uh, his veteran status in the UFC. The way he fought, he understood the time, he understood what he had to do to take each round as they were coming. As Mike Trezano was very a formidable opponent. It wasn't, though it says unanimous decision, these were 10-9 rounds, They were 10-9 rounds. It wasn't like a blowout fight. Daudu was pushed, but his experience won him the match.
Yeah, no, 100%. The fuck yeah, I'm all for it. A fucking takeover. Obviously, was it Usman, Adesanya, and then
Mm-hmm.
Ngannou, right? They kind of tout
Mm-hmm.
themselves as being African champions in the UFC. So why
Mm-hmm.
not fucking keep it going? Have
Let's keep it going.
Duda as 145 and
Mm-hmm.
185 is that Usman's?
Israel. Israel.
Oh, so
Usman's a
hopefully.
welterweight.
Okay, yeah. So hopefully that fight doesn't happen. But then again, I mean, Chitty wants it, so fuck it. Why
Mm-hmm.
not? You know?
Yeah, that's a fight that I don't mind seeing. That fella, uh, the fella, that manager, Ali Abdulaziz,
Oh,
this
there you
son of
go.
a gun, this son of a, I'm not gonna say it, wants to see a
Son of
fight
a
between,
Abdullah
yeah,
Aziz,
son of Abdullah the Butcher. Hey,
Abdullah
he
Butcher. I
want
like it.
he he wants to see a fight between Izzy and Usman. Only a dirty, grimy, stinking son of a biznitch will want something like that. You dirty, grimy bastard. All you want is money. Money. Talking about, oh, they're not real brothers. They're not blood brothers. They're just African brothers. Son of a bastard. You are the reason. You are the reason why we still have problems amongst ourselves. People like you dirty bastard. All you care about is the money. That's all you care about. All you care about. If these two gentlemen talk to each other and they came up with that idea, then I will understand. But you grimy, stinking, disgusting, decrepit, I just can't stand this guy. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is. He's nothing but a. When I look at him, I see a slave driver, an Arab slave driver. That's what I see. Straight up, man. That's how I feel about this dude.
What? Okay.
Straight up.
All right. That's it. I mean, that's a take. And Jamal King Harris says, voodoo. And he's so proud of his teammate, Sean Strickland. And what you're saying is absolutely facty. So yeah, I mean, we're getting closer to talk about your teammate, good sir. But before we get to that, no, I mean, you're right. You're right. I don't know what the fuck to say. But then again, I don't know Ali or whatever. But yes, if you're like, oh, he's a reputable, person in society, his actions, if that's his goal, his actions may not fucking jibe, right? Might not match up to what his intentions are. So if you're trying to be a good person and then behave in the manner in which you do, you might be fucked. That's what I'm saying.
That dude, he ain't no good person, man. He ain't no good person. All he cares about is money. And people like that are dangerous.
Yep. I mean, that is true. That is true. History has been chock full of them, so unfortunately that's the way the cookie crumbles. But speaking of cookies, right? We have John Sexy Mexi Castaneda basically beaten Miles Johns. Now, John Castaneda was in a similar situation as Chitty, where he was locked up in a Combate Global. Well, now it's Global, but at the time that he was in, it was still Combate Americas. And he was actually a Combate Americas champion, right? And kind of locked up there. He always felt like he, would measure up to a lot of the people there. He trains in Minnesota where Brock Lesnar used to train when he was still competing in MMA, so he's there, he's there. And a veteran, coming out of this fight 19-5 with a finish here. Not bad for Mr. Sexy Mexi.
Yes, not bad at all. Not bad at all. John Castaneda, it's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming. I hope he continues to string together these W's because he's deserving. He's deserving. He's put his due time in. He is now a veteran. He spent a lot of time with Combate America and also King of the Cage and RFA and all those good stuff. What we see in athletes like this is loyalty to the brand. That's what you see when you stay with Combate America since 2015 all the way to 2019. Come on, man. Come on, respect. I like people like that. I like people like that. So he's currently on a 2-5 win streak. I wish him great luck. Knockout of Eddie Wineland, now an arm triangle of this Miles Jones fella. I wish him nothing but the best. Congratulations on your submission victory. He's beginning to understand the top level system, John Castaneda. He's beginning to understand the same thing that we talked about in regards to Daoudou. He's becoming that veteran. He's settled in now, and the future is bright. The future is bright. Though time waits for no one, the future is bright as long as he remains consistent.
Yep, hopefully he is consistent because again, spending a lot of time outside of the UFC can mar because you're incurring damage on your body and training and all that jazz. So it's just I like it when stuff like this happens, So let's do that. And Jamal King Harris says we need Sean Strickland in UFC 4 presented by EA Sports, and he wants to challenge you, Voodoo, on EA Sports 4. Yes, and laughing emoji, which I think that's the most recent one. That's Masvidal and Izzy. I want to say that is. You
Hey,
know,
tell Sean Strickland I'll challenge him in football, basketball, track, not combat. He's crazy.
yeah, no, 100%. Um, well, I'm not a doctor, so I can't say one way or another if he's crazy or not. But I mean, what is it? There's
Uh,
something about ducks. Don't fuck a duck. That's what I think they say. Don't fuck ducks unless you're a duck yourself, right? Which I don't think any of us are. So moving on, we have one not a crazy fight. It's a monotone fight, but we had Julian Juicy J Erosa
mhm,
against
mhm,
Steven Peterson. Uh, these two, well, especially in the case of Peterson, was pretty bloody, right?
mhm,
That's what you could
mhm,
say. And it
mhm,
was alluded to by Mike Bisbing, right? That, Julian Erosa had been jaw jacking Peterson on social media, spamming
mhm,
his DMs with
mhm,
shit that he knew that was going to piss him off. But uh,
mhm,
Erosa himself said, I knew that I had to do this because I knew what type of fight this was going to be, right? So I wanted to fuck with his head a little bit, which I don't mind. I don't mind at all.
mhm, mhm. Hey, the fact that the UFC didn't give these two gentlemen fight of the night, I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed. Um, it was a complete mixed martial arts battle. It was not a slugfest. Though they bled, this was not a slugfest. This was calculated. Um, it could have been more technical, right? But it was what it was. The gentleman grappled. The gentleman clinched. The gentleman boxed. The gentleman kickboxed. They they jujitsu. They did everything. They did everything. They were both rocked. They rocked each other, but kept going. You know what I mean? I saw the most heart in this particular match. The most heart of the day was in this particular match. Yet they have no rewards for it. The UFC should be ashamed of themselves for not having a fight of the night award on this particular night.
No, 100%, 100%. Jamal King Harris says I'd smash him voodoo, which
Who?
maybe it's Castaneda, but
Castaneda?
I don't know. Wait, um,
Castaneda's 135er, man. I don't know if you can make that weight though.
oh, ouch. And
Okay.
UD unanimous decision, and GCJ did his thing. Uh, ex- coming from Extreme Couture as well. So
Mhm, mhm.
shout out to Extreme Couture. Back to back wins. Well, not back to back wins. I mean, win at the top and then win here, and they got 100K. So apparently, Tapology's
Right
fucked
here.
up. Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Oh,
good, good. I'm happy they got 100K because Tapology that doesn't show, it doesn't reflect them getting any bonus. But if they got a bonus, then I take my words back, UFC, because they are so goddamn deserving. It is
yeah,
what it is.
yeah. And Jamal saying I meant unanimous decision smash Strickland in football.
I would smash them in football too, man.
There you go.
Straight up. That's why I chose football. Hey, I'll even beat them in soccer. How about that?
There you go.
Anytime.
A little bit of the footballs, you know what I'm just saying? And voodoo would kill me. There you go. Although, Jamal King Harris has a penchant of you know, getting after people in football that come into MMA.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, if a fight were to happen, it would definitely be right up Jamal's Jamal's alley. So, so I think that's fun. I think it's fucking fun. And then he says facts, right? But speaking of facts, there is no fact other than, I mean, Julian Erosa won. Um,
Mhm,
that is fact, but also we got a little bit of a clarification of facts
mhm,
in accordance to one Brian Pooh Bear battle, right? Because
mhm.
a lot of people said that he was a paper Ultimate Fighter winner,
Mm.
right? Because Trayson Gore, who a lot of people said that were would have, if he hadn't have gotten injured during the season, he would have
Mhm.
pretty much took home the Ultimate Fighter prize and the contract, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there was a chip on both men's shoulders, right? Tristan
Mhm.
obviously, going for the acclaim that eluded him because of a fucking injury, right?
Mhm.
Something
Mhm.
beyond his control, and
Mhm.
the chip on Pooh Bear's shoulder, where people thought like he didn't fight the best guy, which
Mhm.
I think we were talking about it the other day, right? In terms of tournaments, right? How tournaments necessarily wouldn't um, give you the fights that you want, right? And
Mhm.
freak accidents can happen, right?
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that your champion is the best in the world. They were just the
Mhm.
best on that night,
Right.
right? Which
Right.
I think that I think the best way to do it would be like what PFL is doing, right? Where
Mhm.
you're the champion for the season. You're not the
Mhm. Mhm.
champion, whatever. If you want to be a defending champion, you got to go through that fucking tournament again
Yep.
and hope for the
Yep.
best. You know.
Yep.
So I think that's the way to do it. I mean, I don't one night tournaments, those are not conclusive because again, if you get injured, you fucking warrior spirit, you fighting spirit your way through it with your eye fucking shut and your limb hanging off the fucking bone and shit like that,
Mhm.
and figure out a way to fucking resourcefully
Mhm.
take apart the rest of the fucking the panel, the tournament entries, right? You figure it out, or because maybe you're the best guy or girl in that tournament, and you sustain an injury, and now you can no longer fight. You will, it's the tournament is not the best of the best. That I at least in my definition, it's just the crafty, what is it, the stewardship to kind of
Mhm.
get your way out of a bad situation. And who can do that, right? Because somebody could be a fucking KO puncher, right? You can only do that for so long. That's assuming that you haven't KO'd, within 12 seconds each of your fucking opponents before that. Or Imanari roll, like we just saw the gentleman in Bellator do. Who fucking trained it in the back and he fucking Imanari rolled the shit and it was over, lickety split. But unless you do that, your cardio is going to be tanked. So that fucking knockout artist that you thought was going to fucking win the whole tournament, they're fucking blown the fuck up by the time we get to fucking round two, assuming that they go into a 15-minute unanimous decision banger, right?
Mhm.
And a
Mhm.
lot of those skills would be neutralized. So that's that. So in this particular instance, right? Um, we have two people who should have fought in a tournament, the best tournament and most prominent tournament that the UFC has in this juncture in the Ultimate Fighter. Which, speaking of it, we're getting I believe it's a strawweight and a heavyweight season, coached
Mhm.
by Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes. That's going to be fucking fun. I am so hyped for that, especially
Mhm.
a couple of friends of the podcast. Uh, are on the fucking at least the women's side of things. So
Mhm.
I believe it's Chantel Coates, and I want to say it is yeah, Catherine Paprocki or Kat Paprocki. So shout
Mhm.
out to the both of them for making the cut. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's gonna be good. But we essentially got what we should have gotten um, in that Ultimate Fighter season finale or season finale fight. I don't know what they fucking call it, but the end of the season
Yes.
for it.
Yeah. The battle was great between the two gentlemen. I was happy to see Mr. Gore return and be quite effective. No, it didn't seem that his knee was a factor, though he's coming back from knee surgery. It didn't seem that was a factor. Brian Battles fought a smart fight. His movement was very nice. He utilized his dynamic striking very well. Trey Songz utilized his Muay Thai quite well too, quite well. But um, my opinion is that his flat-footedness cost him. this match. Um, he seemed like he wasn't as active as he should have been based on the style that required him to stand still. But Brian, on the other hand, seemed to be more active just by the movement alone, you know. Um, though Trayson did more damage, as you could see in Battle's face. His eye, I believe his right eye was swollen. Um, he still lost. Mr. Battles won the match. And then upon finishing the match, genius, by the way, if I might add, genius move. He had his people hand him that trophy, that Ultimate Fighter trophy, and he relived that experience again, twice. Twice. He won that thing twice, and that was genius. Whoever told him, if this was his idea, or someone told him, hey man, you should accept that award again and declare yourself yet again the Ultimate Fighter again. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. His skills on the mic, mm, mm. I have no complaints. I have no complaints. Utilization of the mic skills was on point, and the, I mean, he won the match. He used the mic skills. The rest is up to the machine to push him. He's done his part.
Yeah. And Jamal says you're his OGT, right?
Yeah. What's OGT?
Uh, I'll go with it. And that was a robbery, and he felt that Gore won. I I don't know. I don't know. I don't like decisions. Obviously,
This
finishes
was a
are.
unanimous decision, though.
Yeah, I know 100%. But it's just like those mercy kills, right?
Mm-hmm.
The like you alluded to, maybe fighters in the twilight of their career are fighting out the fucking contract or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want them to get fucking slaughtered. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
because I don't like them or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but a fighter is tough, right? You have to
Mm-hmm.
have something I mean, bearing short of a fucking catastrophic injury, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To make them believe, hey, it's done. Because if
Mm-hmm.
there's like one sliver of a chance, like I know guys and girls that they know they're retired. They're
Mm-hmm.
looking for one fight so they can hang it up on a win,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
the tax on the body, kind of training for this fight and what have you. It's not fun. So
No.
with that all being said, um, I don't like decisions because again the tax that it has on your body. But again, if that's all you can do, that's all you can do. Aside from that fucking Tyron Woodley, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, that is please nobody defend that shit.
Mm-hmm.
No, 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 no.
But
That was
it seems this particular decision was warranted because both gentlemen are actually quite young in their career. I
yeah,
mean,
100%.
Mr. Battles is 7-1. Trayshawn is 3-1. This was his first loss. So they are the future. They are the future. I will advise Mr. Gore to master the mic. He's got an excellent chance to be one of the best. I'm watching him. His skills are still raw. He's young in the game. He will grow. He just needs to keep his mind focused and string together some wins. Please, please learn some mic skills. Of course, he didn't get an opportunity to speak on the mic, so we are not quite clear just how good he is on the mic. But when that opportunity comes, he should be prepared because he's he's got something. He's still a diamond in the rough right now that needs to be polished. And with time, he will be polished and he could shine. Battles already gets it. That's what I see in Battles.
Yeah.
He already gets it. He already knows how to steal matches. I mean, he's got a few more matches ahead of Mr. Gore, but he already knows how to steal matches. He'll take you down and steal that last round. And he's already playing the game, right? He's already playing the game and he's playing for keeps. I am not mad at Mr. Battles at all. He gets it, and he's going for that. I wouldn't even say title. He's going for just victory in life, is what I would say. He's going for victory in life.
No, 100%, 100%. Well, Treson wasn't a guy that, because I watched the entire season of The Ultimate Fighter. I
Mm-hmm.
see what people saw in him,
Mm-hmm.
but this is the problem with being a good fighter, just being a
Mm-hmm.
good fighter, and not
Mm-hmm.
having a way to connect with people, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
He was a fucking KO artist, right? But could I tell you anything about Treson Gore other than him and Ryder Newman were friends, and that's about it. They were sharing Bible scriptures, which if that's your deal, that's your deal, right? But that I couldn't tell you, he and for me, and again, this is not a diss, but he literally looks like the middle part of an evolutionary chart. Like he looks like, and he kind of fights like one too, right? And that's the thing, I his look and whatever. There needs to be something where he can capitalize it, where he can prove pay dirt if he wants to,
Mm-hmm.
And I say the same thing with Ryder Newman, right? If they're on the religious tip, fuck it, go full on, man. You
Mm-hmm.
know, Diego Sanchez and fucking carry across to the ring or whatever. Like do something that will, that base. If that's your base, fucking go hard at it, right? Especially in the sense that you lost the decision, right? You'll have people on Twitter, like Christian Twitter or whatever the fuck, echoing your praises. You will have
Mm-hmm.
a base that will stick with you throughout all of the bullshit that may or may
Mm-hmm.
not happen during your career, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, fuck yes, the fact that Battle was sucking all the shit, even with a fucked up eye. He's like, I ain't fucked up and whatever the hell. And they were just bleeping the shit out of it on the YouTube version of it. I
Mm-hmm.
liked it. Again,
Hey,
if
the
you're on
kid,
ESPN, yeah,
the kid remained in character.
yeah,
He understands when I'm in front of that camera, I've just clocked in and I must perform. He gets that already. A lot of people are still stuck in the, hey man, I am not a character. I am being real. Real doesn't make you money, man. That's what you need to understand. Some people can remain themselves. There's nothing wrong with remaining yourself and or whatever you want to call it. Nothing wrong with it. But there's nothing also wrong with creating a gimmick. There's nothing wrong with creating a gimmick. If Mr. Gore is gonna become the missing link, so be it. Run with it. Just make sure you get that bread. You know what I mean? I see no sense in going in there and getting your brains bashed in for the sake of being real, honorable, or whatever you want to call it. That's dumb. That's dumb. Make sure there's something for you as well. Because, like it or not, real or not, gimmick or not, the UFC is going to get that money. They stay paid. Why can't you get your piece of the pie however you can? That's my question.
no, 100%. And I think that is something, going back to the Clarissa Shields, right? Like that's something, she's talking all the smack as Layla Ali did before her, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about, amazing victories, Hall of Famer Christy Martin, and overcoming, the sexual and physical abuse of her then husband, right? But still, it hasn't taken a hold of the pop culture lexicon, right? In the way that other things have. We, fucking Pro Bowl just happened, right? The NFL, they have a fan base, built-in fan base, and not just a
Mm-hmm.
built-in NFL fan base, but that is the world over, but regional ones, right? They're essentially their own fucking territory, right? If you're in Cleveland, chances are you're going to be a fucking Cleveland Browns person, and then whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And how many thousands, if not millions, of fucking people are into that? Unfortunately, UFC and MMA at large as a whole hasn't got to that point. It hasn't got to the point of generational fandom like boxing has, like even professional wrestling has.
Mm-hmm.
So until that happens, we need as many people fucking trying to reach that fucking pop culture lexicon whether it be the Conor McGregor or the Colby Covington or the Jorge Masvidal or Brock Lesnar, people who might not know fucking UFC, but are like, oh, I know those people. And maybe in knowing those people, they will fucking tune in and see all these other cool motherfuckers and go, oh shit, I'm gonna sign up for ESPN Plus. I'm gonna buy a pay-per-view. I'm gonna fucking do jujitsu. I'm gonna whatever the fuck, You just know, you never know what the hell happens. I mean, Angie Overkill Hill, right? She was somebody that maybe wasn't necessarily a fan, right? And then she got into it, and then fuck, the rest is history. She started out in a fucking cardio kickboxing class. Juliana Pena, same deal with Rick Little, who started out in a cardio kickboxing class under her now head coach that has led her to the UFC Bantamweight Championship, right? So, and how would we know that if she hadn't sat down for a fucking 2-hour conversation with Joe Rogan, right? Like, that's the thing. And she, for what she wanted to get across, she definitely got that across in spades. She's a fucking tough hombre, so but again, that's why we need the Ultimate Fighters or whatever, things that kind of reach people and capture people's imagination. So I dig it, so good win for Battle, kind of silencing any naysayers in people who didn't think he might have won. I like it. Yeah.
It is what it is, man. These things happen. Things happen.
Now, speaking of happenings, man, it looks like we might see the end of the UFC career of one Smiling Sam Alvey, because he was finished by Brendan All in Allen. And to kind of echo the sentiments that we were talking about with Gore and Battle before, right? Well, Brendan Allen, right, chokes out a legend. And if you want to say that Sam Alvey isn't a legend, I will fucking say you're out of your fucking mind. Sam Alvey is a literal legend, and we're pretty much the same age. I don't know how he got to fucking doing awesome shit, whereas I maybe didn't, maybe later in life. But even still, Sam Alvey, an incredible career, and I don't want to say his dead to rights because nothing has, come out of it, but he's in his, good Lord, how many fights has he lost thus far?
17.
Yeah, 17 fights, but in this current season, he hasn't
7
won
straight.
Yeah, 7 straight loss. Right? He hasn't won anything since John Vellante back in 2018, and has had 7 fights since, and all being in the losing end of all of those, right? So one would argue that this might be the end of the road for Smiling Sam, and again, this is somebody who, through his, tough fights, who he is, he's married to a person who I believe won the Tyra Banks America's Next Top Model, and if she didn't win, she definitely captured the hearts of that fan base, where she's a notable person and one of her husband Sam Alvey's coaches, right? So shout out to the Alveys for making it work and what have you. But this is the next generation, right? Because and this very much felt like a changing of the guard, especially with the intentions stated by Brendan All in Allen in the post-fight interview. He said 3 things. He said, hey, I'm going in whatever. It's like, fucking Anthony Pettis, fucking pay me my money, right? I forgot the first thing that he said, but second, he's like, I want to be on the UFC panel and shit like that. When I need to be, I can say some smart shit. So please let me get at it, And this is something that I never saw, and maybe I'm not remembering correctly, but as popular as Smiling Sam Alvey is, I never saw him on a UFC panel or do post-fight interviews or what have you. Now he's got other endeavors, right? He's a coach. At the time, he was coaching at Team Quest in Temecula, California. Now he's relocated to, I believe, Tennessee and what have you. But with this being said, this is the phase that they're going. Like obviously Brendan Allen knew the opportunity that was given to him, and he made the most of it. And that's the thing. I remember 2 out of the 3 things that he was just like, well, 3 last things. Well, I remember it. Just another submission. Okay, a submission over over a
Mm-hmm.
legend. That's cool
Mm-hmm.
too, right? But I don't even remember the fucking fight. I remember the 2 out of the 3 things that he said, and
Mm-hmm.
one of which was more prominence in the UFC pecking order. So
Mm-hmm.
shout out to Brandon Allen, proving his his fight nickname is apropos. That he's all in. He's all into fight. He's all into fucking commentate, analyze, what have you. I love this.
Yep, yep. And that's pretty much what we've always talked about. The utilization of the microphone. It's essential to your success as a fighter. The man got his rear naked choke. Of course, he beat a veteran. It wasn't much of a challenge for him. He took no damage. I bet you Brandon Allen can fight again next week. He took no damage. Secured a beautiful rear naked choke. It was what it was. He jumped on the mic and he did that thing. Can't be mad at it. Cannot be mad at it. It's not his problem that they put a veteran in front of him. You know what I'm saying? If Brandon Allen hadn't done what he did, trust me, Sam Alvey would have smashed the hell out of him. It was what it was. He beat an older guy, 35-year-old, and he made the best of it. It
And
is what it is.
and I mean, Alvey rocked him that first round.
There you go.
Never forget. He fucking clipped his ass. Like anybody. Okay, maybe Sam Alvey, in terms of UFC contention or what have you, either might have bad matchups or whatever you want to attribute it to, right? But if you say Sam Alvey isn't a badass, again, I'm going to fucking respectfully disagree, right? Sam Alvey is still one of the best, but there's even in one of the best, there's an echelon right above that, right? There's that elite level, that optimized level where it's just fucking samurais, right? And maybe Sam Alvey's not that anymore, but he can fucking have a KO should he have another fight, whether it be in the UFC or whatever, and make me eat my fucking words because Sam Alvey is that fucking guy, right?
Yeah,
Just
Sam
like,
Alvey is that guy. He is
right.
that guy because we talked about this last Thursday. I mean, the dude consistently losing, but performing in every loss. 7 fights straight losing, but yet they give him another match. That's a testament of just how good he can be, just how good he is.
And you know what's crazy, right? Because Jamal Harris, you said that you wanted to have Sean Strickland in the UFC game, which I echo your sentiments 100%, right? But you know who is Voodoo? You know who is in the UFC game?
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. Let me hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Uh-uh.
Okay. So I'm gonna
let me go out and come back, bro.
Yeah.
This whole thing.
So you know who is in the UFC for video game? Smiling Sam Alvey. He is a playable character and has been for the last 2 UFC games, right? And this is somebody that has left an indelible mark in the UFC. So it's this might be the end for Smiling Sam. Would you agree?
I think so, man. Seven straight fights at the highest level. Yes, he's he's a warrior. There's only so much you can look away. Then the company becomes negligent. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was the very last one. I mean, Sam, he could still coach. I mean, it's not over for Sam in MMA. He could still coach. He's a well of knowledge, which is why he is still in the game up until this point, fighting at the highest level. So he'll get another shot, maybe at coaching, but I don't see him in the UFC octagon fighting anymore.
Yeah, I mean, what a career it was if this ends up being the end, at least in the UFC. Not to say that he won't fight elsewhere or what his intentions are. It's still early to tell. But as somebody that has had some amazing run-ins with Smile and Sam over the years during the course of my career, interviewing not just him but a lot of his fighters coming out of Team Quest in Temecula. Man, thank you, just fucking thank you for being a cool ass dude, man. Um, so yeah, there's that. But speaking of some cool ass dudes or some fucking assassins, rather, Shavkat Rakhmonov, right?
Mm,
The Kazakhstani. This shit ain't
mm,
Borat. This
mm,
he's not very nice. No,
mm,
this shit was fucking KO, which is an
mm,
anomaly, right? Because we
mm,
talk about you know maybe Brazilians that enter combat sports that don't know jujitsu, or Thai that might not know Muay Thai, right? Coming into
mhm,
combat sports, I actually
mhm,
don't think that latter part is a thing because
mhm,
you're. It doesn't matter what you identify. There's children fucking Thai fights. There's men Thai fights. There's women Thai fights. There's transgender, male to female and female to male Thai fights. The Thais come to fight, and it's Thai boxing. They're the shit. But like, to be of that Eastern Bloc, the Kazakhstan, Dagestan, Russian Federation, what have you, and to have KO power. This almost is reminiscent of Junior Dos Santos, right? Junior Dos Santos, not a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, but known for his boxing, right? Same thing with Glover Teixeira, right? Glover
mhm,
Teixeira
mhm,
is a little bit better than Junior Dos Santos in terms of the wrestling and mat wars and what have you. But I mean, the fact that Shavkat, you know, KOs his opponent of the night and earning himself the last performance of the night bonus. Um, I mean, it's a fucking cool thing. Now, before before we get to it, I also love the interview after because it was hilarious. It harkened back to when Rogan in the early days, those Palms Casino fucking days of the UFC, right, or the Hard Rock, days of the UFC, where Rogan would be, interviewing a Brazilian fighter or a Thai fighter or what have you, and there was no interpreter, and it was just like
mhm,
this weird fucking
mhm.
disconnect and shit like that. That happened to Michael Bisping, and it was hilarious to me. As somebody that has been there myself, right? I could appreciate the fucking whatever. And you see Bisping get flustered because, Bisping asks the question, right? And they try to go over to the fucking translator, but Shavkat, they basically push it back to Shavkat. Shavkat is speaking in his native Kazakh. That's what I'm going to his native language for sure, right? And then when it was almost like a fucking two-man team, right? Where Shavkat points the microphone back to the translator, who asks Shavkat a question and cutting fucking Bisping completely out of it. And you can see fucking like Bisping was like, "Wait, am I gonna fucking talk? Like, this is what I'm paid to fucking do, And by the time it swings back to Bisping, Bisping is fucking rapping that some bitch out. And
Yeah.
for all the words that fucking Shavkat was saying, it was like, yeah, I know. I think the interpreter was like, "Oh, I knew that fucking wheel kick or whatever." It was, Shavkat might have said 50 words. That interpreter wrapped that some bitch up in like 8. So either he's the
Mhm.
world's best interpreter, or he fucking just was like he ad libbed that shit. Like that, what is it? The fucking uh not the homicidal. You remember they hired somebody to fucking do sign language for Obama, and it turns out that she was like a
It
fucking
was BS.
sociopath or whatever the fuck. That's what it felt like to me.
Oh my goodness. Hey, this Shafkat fella is special, man. Oh my goodness. At 170 pounds, he's a beast. He's a terror. Imagine Shafkat versus Hamzat. Oh, oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine that battle.
Would that
We
be
haven't
the
even.
battle of the Sots?
Hey, hey. It will be the battle of the mountain men. Wait a
Wait,
minute.
like William Regal? like a man's man. That was Regal's first gimmick. Like he was Lord Steven Regal
That's right.
in the WCW, and they're like, "Oh, we got the British guy. You know, one half of the Blue Bloods. You know what we're gonna do with him? We're gonna put him in a hard hat and a fucking flannel shirt with cut off jeans, and like he's a man's man. That's what we're gonna do. And also, he might be battling a drug addiction. So right on. That's it. I'm not talking shit about Regal. Regal's like one of my fucking all
Regal's
time favorite.
awesome.
He's fucking great. He's fucking
I've
great.
always loved him.
Yeah, same. I'm like, I got goosebumps just fucking talking about him. I think I even had the WCW fucking action figure with him and Dave Taylor, where you press the button, all they did was fucking rumble. Didn't do shit else. Just you press the button and they had a fucking seizure or shit like that.
Hey, one of the best technical wrestlers ever.
Yes,
He
100%.
understood the game inside out. He understood the back. He understood the psychology in the ring itself. He's a great leader. He follows, but he leads. I mean, he's just a plethora of knowledge when it comes to sports entertainment. He was awesome.
Yeah, no, 100%. And actually, just to kind of like that early era, like the early '90s era of WCW. Like imagine like a Cactus Jack Mick Foley and a stunning Steve Austin and a flying Brian Pillman and a terrorizing who would end up becoming fucking Triple H and Regal, right? And them all riding together and just fucking shooting this shit, dude. I swear to God, I wish it were like 30 years or 20 years in advance where you could fucking put a GoPro in that car. You know, all of those guys in their fucking infancy. And sometimes you would pepper in a Bobby Eaton or Rick Rude and shit like that, or Larry Zabisco. Like, oh man, if I could be a fly on the wall. But in any event, you know, speaking of wrestling, again, Kazakhstani, anything Stani, you think of the fucking wrestling, right? Shavkat, like you said, is special. He's a puncher in a land of wrestlers, right? And the possibilities are endless. Like you said, him and his, you know, I don't know if Hamzat is Dagestani or Kazakhstani, but definitely of that region. But wherever
Chechen.
the fuck
I think he's Chechen or something
he's
like that.
Chechen. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all
I mean,
the same when you
yeah,
really look at it. It's all the same.
but it seems like there's like mini takeovers happening, right? Because you know, before it used to be like the Japanese and the Brazilians would dominate MMA fucking circles in any promotion in the known land, right? These like in Bellator, they've got a couple of those champions there. PFL, there's a couple $1 million fucking tournament winners from that region, right? This is a low-key takeover. Like, and they're doing it with skill and metal, you know, but I gotta think if you're a kid, right, that what's the other guy? Zabit, right? If you're a kid, right, and you're in a taekwondo class or a boxing class, right, that is pretty much state mandated if you're a male in that region, right? And you look at these guys, you look at the Habibs, you look at the Shavkats and the Zabits and Hamzats and whatever, and know like you're traveling some of the same paths that these guys went to basically etch themselves in immortality, not just in your region of the world, but the world over. Like that's got to be fucking cool.
It's dawn of the new era, man. Every few years, you get a different group. We started off with the Brazilians. Brazilians ran the show. Then the Americans took it back. Then the Brazilians took it back.
I
Then
said
the
the Japanese
Africans
had a
came. And the Japanese had. Yeah. Everyone's had. Now it's these fellas. These people of Arab blood. It's their turn. You know, everyone gets a turn. And the thing about this fella right here is Shavkat. I like him for one reason. He seeks the path of least resistance. If he has to choke you out, so be it. If he has to knock your head off your shoulder, so be it. He feels the opponent, he sees what their weaknesses is, and then he goes after it. More than likely, it's usually submission. As you can see here, there's triangle chokes, there's guillotine chokes, there's rear naked chokes, there's triangle chokes, there's knockouts left and right. I mean, just yesterday, spinning heel kick to the temple, knocks his opponent down. He moves in for the kill with his hands, and that was that. I mean, the execution, the timing, everything is on point. Everything is on point. This man here has no internet to distract him. He has no Hollywood to distract him, no celebrities, none of that nonsense. They don't have that where he comes from. The man's a nomad. The man is. I wouldn't be surprised if he is part of the bloodline of Genghis Khan. I wouldn't be surprised. He is of that region, you know. The future is so bright for him. The future is so bright, and I hope they manage him well so he can blossom to become what he truly is destined to be.
Yeah, no, 100%. So shout out to Shavkat and shout out to Shavkat's fucking interpreter. Is that motherfucker is man, that was like the unintentional highlight of my night. But speaking of highlights of the night, we are at the co-main events of the evening. We have one and only Nick Maximov against Punahele Soriano. And Nick Maximov, don't let the last name fool you, right? Of Russian descent. But this motherfucker is Stockton. And we saw one of the, Nick Diaz in the crowd, you know, as this fight was taking place. And in the post-fight interview, fuck, that he might as well have been a clone of Nick Diaz. And I'm not trying to say that to denotes Maximov's accomplishments or the way they speak. I don't know if it's a Stockton 209 thing where they all speak that way or whatever the fuck, but like if you're a fan of the Diaz brothers, Nick and Nate, you're gonna love fucking Maximov. Like and it's cool too because like this is almost like Demolition, right? And it's wild because my wife and I were just talking about it because we're watching this show, the 1,000-Pound Sisters, and if you guys haven't watched it, Jesus Christ, it's two sisters who have the weights as the show started of 1,000 pounds combined, right? So, but they're fucking sassy, so sassy, and they live like somewhere in the South or what have you. But in any event, right? We just saw the sisters in the first season, right? And then the second season, they introduced their brother, and then now they're getting into the third season, and the one sister, Tammy, she's getting bigger. She's damn near 700 pounds in her own right, right? And then they're introducing all of these other siblings and what have you. And I was like, you know what they're doing, right? It's like they're doing what they did with Demolition. And she was like, my wife's not a wrestling fan, so it went right over her head. But Demolition, if you know the WWF tag teams of the 80s and into the 90s, right? So it started out with, the Masked Superstar or Bill Eadie, right? And Randy Colley, who was one half of the Moondogs, former WWF tag team champions, right? Him and Moondog Spot, right? Were the tag team champions. Well, they played a hillbilly gimmick, right? And then they were like, oh, we're going to make him one half of the fucking Demolition, right? A take on the LID, some would argue, right? And we're going to shave his head or whatever and paint his face and dress him up in dominatrix gear, right? People who knew him as a fucking Moondog, right? They're like, no, they just shouted Moondogs. So Randy Colley was out, and they put a gentleman who would come to notoriety as both Blacktop Bully and the Repo Man, one Barry Darso, right? They put
Repo Man.
Yes, the Repo Man, right? So they put Repo Man with Masked Superstar, and they were Axe and Smash, the original fucking, well, not the original, but the second take of Demolition, right? Then the Masked Superstar, Bill Eadie, had a fucking heart condition, right? That was it would make his heart race. And this is the 80s, so we didn't know shit about the heart like we do now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And essentially what happened is they introduced a third Demolition member in Crush.
Crush.
Right. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
this is what they're fucking doing with Maximov, whether they mean it or not, right? As the Nick and Nate are in the very firmly in the twilight of their career, and they're making money elsewhere, right? Well, if you love the fucking Diaz brothers, here's Maximov and a whole legion of jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts practitioners coming out of Nick Diaz Academy that make your heart swoon if that is your fancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the deal. So
Mm-hmm.
Maximov, man, like he's money whether he knows it or not. And the
Mm-hmm.
thing about it, I don't think he's putting on an act. Whether it be osmosis of just being in Stockton, California, and that's the way everyone speaks, or just being around Nick and Nate and kind of learning their way of communicating or whatever, right? But I'm like, this motherfucker's a fucking Diaz brother.
Definitely
You know?
is. Definitely
Yeah,
is.
I was just like, this is great. And again, Nick and Nate aren't having to incur the fucking damage. They they get to usher some of their pupils into the world of MMA, and
Mm-hmm.
because of their coaching staff and whatever, maybe take a piece, their rightful piece, from uh, theoretically, if Maximov started off with them, they're due their just penance, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking shout out to the Diaz brothers. Shout out to Nick Maximov. Shout out to Stockton 209. As Maximov said, again, Stockton might not be the best place in the world, right? But they're bringing credibility and relevance in their fighting aspects, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
when you grew up in Inglewood, Voodoo, as did I. And I for one, hate the Inglewood is always up to no good, right? Because, again, there's fathers I mean, as they were in youth, didn't grow up with their fathers, right? There's teachers, lawyers, doctors, athletes, what have you, coming out of Inglewood, Compton, Watts, and every similar situation in whatever Southside Chicago, fucking dirty, like like the down and dirty Houston, Texas, the fucking 305 in Florida, right? Like all of these fucking socially impoverished places that there weren't fucking school books of that fucking decade that these kids have to learn out of. Shit, again, when I graduated in 2003, there were motherfuckers with afros in our textbooks that had been updated in fucking 20 years up to that point, and we still figured it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what the Diaz brothers have done. This is what now Nick Maximov continues to do, man.
Mm-hmm.
So fuck yes, man. Like I was shouting out fucking 209. I haven't been to Stockton once in my life. I was born in NorCal, reside in SoCal, but I was like fucking 209,
Mm-hmm.
motherfuckers.
Yeah,
This is
This Maximov fella, very good wrestler because that was what saved him. He was getting pieced up, and then he was like, "Hey, I can't do the stand up thing," and immediately for the next 2 rounds, it was grappling galore. Soriano came to knock his block off. So I think he leaked them a bit,
yeah,
but Maximov was like, homie, I'm here to string together wins, and you are not a good wrestler like I am. So therefore, we will fight this ground underground. I might not punch you out or ground and pound you to oblivion, but I will take this match simply by holding you down and dominating you on the ground. And when I get my opportunity to speak on the mic, I'm gonna do just that. You know what I mean? And he did that. Um, was it the most eloquent? No, but it did the job. Remember, as long as you're getting your point across, this is winning. The boy, Nick, was able to get his point across, hence he was winning. So that's it.
yeah. No, it was it. And Fight Life Nation saying, so I'm not trying to be a hater. I don't think Maximov would be in the UFC if he wasn't associated with the Diaz brothers. He wouldn't have been there. That said, if the Diaz are okay with it, it's all gravy. No, I mean, And he says, I feel like the UFC is doing Nate dirty and trying to get a cheaper option with Maximov. And that's no, I mean, uh, I don't disagree either with that, and that's the cool thing about talking about things like this, right? Where we can all, in a warm and considerate place, agree, disagree, and do it civilly and what have you. That's a hot take. Might be different than mine, might be different than Voodoo's and what have you. And this is why we enjoy this. This is why we do this, right? So we can all kind of come together. Yeah, I mean, there's valid points there too. It's not wrong. It's a take. Um, you know, but that's the thing. So with CM Punk, most people think, oh, CM Punk doesn't deserve to fucking be in the UFC and command the paycheck that he did in his 2 fights with the UFC. CM Punk garnered eyeballs where a lot of people that are legit fighters didn't. Same thing with one of the Paul brothers in KSI. Fucking sold out the Staples Center in essentially what was a fucking like debut boxing match. They were both 0-0 going into that, right? And sold out the Staples Center. Now, an asterisk could be noted that, it wasn't the fucking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Unless we got to the fucking ringside seats, that was it. But you could fucking be, mid-level for like $50 in that Logan Paul KSI. But they still sold out the Staples Center, right?
Yep.
Whereas an 8-0 fighter, a boxer from a legit gym, couldn't. Right? It's all about it, the marketability of it, especially now that the UFC specifically is owned by a fucking talent agency in Hollywood, the biggest one. Where, in my personal experience, when I was driving Uber, I picked somebody up from WME Endeavor, right off of Santa Monica Boulevard, Avenue of the Stars, big ass building, and they were like, "Oh, are you an actor? You gotta speak well. You carry yourself well." I was like, "Oh, I'm an MMA interviewer." It was like, "What's MMA?" I was like, "The UFC." And they were like, "What's the UFC?" So if people within the company that owns the UFC, their headquarters, don't even know what the fuck UFC is. Just saying, right? So, yeah, and that explains everything. No, 100%. So I don't know what is going to get people into it. Fucking, there's that video of the guy, oh, twist his dick. I don't know what got that fucking guy into fucking MMA, but he's there. He's paying a ticket, and the fighters on that card are benefiting from him doing that, right? And we don't even know who the fuck fought on that card. We just know the twist his dick guy, and the guy was like, "Yeah, twist his dick."
Yeah.
And that went viral.
Yeah.
At a fucking combat sports show. Don't even know what the fucking show is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So with that all being said, and we don't know, right? You could be like a fucking Chitty, right? Nojuku Ani, right? Tyrion Flash Ware, at the time he entered the UFC, compile an amazing record, right? Across legitimate fucking promotions, right? In Tyrion Ware's case, fucking 3 different fucking disciplines: boxing, MMA, and I think either jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai, where he's competed, right? Like, what more do you have to do, right? When you can have a damn 20 fucking fight record, right? And not fucking lopsided record, a legit fucking record, and still not even be in knocking distance. You're not in the fucking doorstep to knock on the door of the UFC, right? So there you go. And Bellator, cool. Bellator's owned by Viacom.
Yep.
The fucking company that owns MTV that doesn't play music videos.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where we are. And guess what? None of that shit matters to the motherfuckers on TikTok and Instagram and whatever, or OnlyFans or whatever the fuck, that are making a gazillion dollars versus, people that with fucking thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, right? Going to a 4-year college, getting a fucking degree. That means, and I put it to my son, we were just talking about this earlier today, right? You can get a degree, but guess what? that degree that you're paying hundreds and thousands of dollars of, the job that you want, you're competing on everybody in your class. Now, that's just, and that graduated that year. That's not even including the people that graduated with that same fucking degree that incurred that same debt 5, 10, 15 years before you, 5, 10, 15 years after you. And at every fucking school in the world. Good luck. And everybody's flipping burgers because it's better. You got to get yourself out of debt. Okay? So this is just because you do the things right doesn't mean you'll win. One would argue that Dana White's a douchebag. He's a gazillionaire douchebag. I mean, sometimes the bad guy wins.
Yep.
You know? So, you know, one of these things are not like the other. So I don't know. I don't know what the fuck, man. But if Maximov can cash in to a notoriety built, that was the foundation built to him by his coaches, then fuck it. I mean, seriously, I'm not paying $200, $300, $400 a month for jiu-jitsu and not getting the rub from Nick Diaz. I'm not going to 10 Planet and not getting the rub from Eddie Bravo. I'm not going to fucking CSW and not getting the rub from, you know, Paulson and Ben Jones, Eric Paulson, Ben Jones. I'm not training G Duo, not thinking I'm not fucking doing the same thing that Bruce Lee did. Yes, you want the fucking rub. And I'm not saying this is Maximov's deal or whatever, but if Maximov can use it to prove a notable persona that he can use to gain his city, his town, his family a little bit more prominence, a little bit more wealth, fuck yeah, do it, bro. Like, I'm not mad at it. You know, and Shaman Steve saying you have to create a genuine buzz and have passion, and the people will come. No, 100%.
That's right.
100%. And not just that, like, the passion is absolutely true because we've seen people. We saw the fucking Mike Chiesa and Kevin Lee fucking jaw jacking when they saw Conor McGregor, and we're like, you literally saw their fucking eyes go, oh, that's what we should be doing. And they did it, and they sucked because it wasn't them. It was garbage.
It wasn't genuine.
Right, exactly. So I don't know, you know. And Fight Life Nation says it's ironic that Maximov is such a great wrestler. Nick used to be so against wrestling. I think Maximov will continue to develop. And all that said, you know, fuck the UFC trying to hold Nate down. No, I agree with that too. Shit. Again, when you're going out to fucking, you know, like in imploring, and shout out to Uncle Creepy, Ian McCall, right? But if you are spending money, it was the UFC generated from fighters fighting the same fighters that you fucking 86 from using any of these substances, and you're using money that was built upon by these fighters' blood, guts, and tenacity to develop whatever the fuck so you can put your UFC label, right? If you guys look at, like, I think it's Onyx, right? Trevor Whitman's fucking brand, right, of glove. Dana White himself supposedly loves the fucking idea, but wanted to buy it outright. This is something that he knew was better, that would benefit the fighters, but if he couldn't have his fucking all of it, he's not doing it.
No, thank you.
Right? So I fucking don't know, man. I don't know. And this is why, at least for me, I do this. I don't, the fuck if you don't know my name or whatever the fuck. That's cool with me. This fighter who's taking blows to the head, please follow them. Please follow their social media. Please, fighters, develop a fucking presence and maybe a cool t-shirt design like Josh Barnett and a litany of others, right? Cat Lights Out Nelson, who's an amateur fighter, has like 54,000 followers on Instagram as an amateur fighter, right? In Florida, right? And has merch. She's not a household name, but one would argue she is. She fucking is. Right? 54,000 people know who the fuck she is.
That's right.
She's got that vaunted verified check mark on all of her social medias. That's it. Fucking do it. And how you do it, I don't know. I don't care. Just do it because you're 5 to 7 years. That's what you got. And if you got anything beyond it, you're lucky. So fuck it. Let's get your fucking money.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Get the
Speaking
money.
of getting the money, right? We're at the main event of the evening. Sean Strickland, Tarzan Strickland against Jack the Joker Hermansson, right? This was a second, obviously the Maximov Punahele Soriana actually did. I mean, we talked about it, right? And the you know the prowess of both Punahele and Maximov, right? So I think
Yeah, we
we're
did.
yeah. So this was the second split decision of the night, and it happened in the main and the co-main event, respectively. Um, Hermanson said, "Hey, fuck, I wasn't prepared for Strickland fucking threading all of my takedowns. Like he wanted, knowing that Strickland is a fucking powerful puncher. You don't want to fucking he's put many of people away, right? And speaking of like the window of your peak, period being very very small, very very narrow. Well, Sean
Mm-hmm.
Strickland saw that head on because he was injured. 2 years
Mm-hmm.
of his fucking career was taken away unceremoniously because of an accident, something
Mm-hmm.
beyond his control, right? But
Mm-hmm.
he's made good on it. This is almost, it reminds me of the stories of Rodney Dangerfield, right? Where he fucking did comedy and it wasn't working for him. I didn't, whatever. So he went and fucking became a door to door salesman and still was writing jokes, writing jokes, writing
Mm-hmm.
jokes. And I can't remember the time, but it was a pretty big fucking amount of time between, when he stopped and started doing a regular fucking gig until he comes back. And when he comes back, he has literally, a couple years, if not a decade's worth of material. And he
Mm-hmm.
just fires that some bitch off. And we all know fucking Rodney Dangerfield, which if he had just continued to not do those things, maybe he isn't the household name for people
Mm-hmm.
that grew up in the 80s and 90s, like a lot of us did. The ladybugs and the fucking what's the deal? The one with the gopher. I
Mm-hmm.
forgot the fucking name, but if you've seen Rodney Dangerfield stand up and whatever, we know who he is, right? Sean Strickland is the Rodney Dangerfield of the UFC, in my opinion. Right? He's somebody in that 2 years was able to better his body, better his mind, better his intention. Because sometimes you need to take a step away to figure out what the fuck is going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether you want to or not. And he did it. And look at the run he's on. Holy
Mm-hmm.
shit.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
proud of Strickland.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Jack Hermansson, who's another guy who has try whether Jack the Joker Hermansson, like he's created a persona, a persona that matches his fight style, right? He's a Joker because you don't even know what the fuck you were gonna get out of him. These are two guys that I think should be professors of a masterclass on how to market yourself in
Mm-hmm.
one way or another. And again, we were talking about Strickland and fucking head case. Yeah, he is. But that head case is getting paid in cold. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
fucking main event, fucking fight nights and shit like that. After a
Mm-hmm.
2 year
Mm-hmm.
layoff,
Mm-hmm.
not directly.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he had fights in between, but generated a buzz and what have you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think his stock has never been higher, even though he's not too impressed with the performance. He wish he could beat Jack Hermanson in a definitive way. Right to the extent where he was literally fucking talking shit to Hermanson. Like, come on, and I'd rather not say some of the shit as a guy who likes curse. Even I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I shuddered a little bit. But I'm fucking Strickland, man, Strickland.
Hey, one thing that I'm realizing about this Strickling character is anytime he's in front of camera, he's always in character, always in character. I'm not sure if this is him. I can't really tell if this is truly him in his personal life and in front of the camera. All I know is he's always performing, which is a good thing. How he chooses to perform is up to him. I've seen videos of him almost getting his arm ripped off by that little fat dude, a submission wrestler, a grappler or whatever. I also saw
Oh,
Strickland,
Orlando Sanchez.
that guy. Yeah, I didn't like that too much. I didn't like that too much. But then I saw Strickland in an encounter with some amateur fella in which he head kicked the fella and damn near knocked him out, if not knocked him out. I didn't like that too much. I didn't like that too much. Um, I my aim anytime I train is, I mean, I'm gonna hit you. I'm not saying I don't hit my opponents or my training partners. I hit them, but I never aim to knock their head off. Um, I believe that if you can pull and not connect all the way through, then when it's time to connect, it's much easier. I truly believe that. Someone of his caliber should not be head kicking people and knocking them out or dropping them in the manner that he did. I kind of, I didn't feel too well about that. But, it is what it is. This is the nature of the business. Um, he's very good at advocating for himself on the microphone, which is necessary. It's quite clear that he is a heel in this business. Um, I believe this is what I'm feeling when I see him knocking someone out. He's living up to that heel character. Um, I guess no one sued him, so I guess it must be okay. Um, One thing that I will say is after the loss, he said I should have done this and I should have done that. Negatively reflecting on yourself, I don't believe is a good thing. Um, Even if he truly believes that, he should have said that out loud because anytime you speak in front of the microphone, you're planting those seeds in people's mind. So and your own mind. So I didn't agree with that one too much. I would have rather him say something like, man, I went in there and I tried to destroy this fella, Jack Hermansson, but he turned out to be something different. He turned out to be tougher than he actually was. If he would have bumped up his opponent rather than downgrade himself, I think this would have elevated him even that much more because we know him to be that destructive fella. We know him to be that assassin. Now he wasn't able to assassinate Jack Hermansson, right? Even if it was because he was reserved and maybe he was scared of the takedown and submission, so he was a little reserved. He doesn't have to say that, He didn't have to say that. Just give the credit to Jack Hermansson, which will end up boosting you uh, uh, um, in the long run or whatever, if you know what I'm saying. Um, Perhaps he could, you know, brush up a little bit on that part of thing. But outside of that, his striking was phenomenal. His distance control, great as always. His kickboxing was great, even though he's primarily a boxer. Just his use of his hands. Oh, I love the way he punches. He reminds me of Nick Diaz in his heyday. This is what this cat reminds me of. This Sean Strickland. I really like the way he uses his hands. He's very efficient. He's efficient with his striking. Usually no wasted movement, and whatever seems to be wasted is a distance gauger. He's gauging distance. He's not really just throwing to throw. He's gauging distance. Okay, once he sees, okay, I'm in range, then he lets off. And it's not those hard shots trying to knock your block off. He's trying to break you down systematically. Even in his madness, there is order and focus. And to acquire something like that usually takes a traumatic event. I wouldn't be surprised if it was that motorcycle accident that put things in perspective for him. Because since then he's looked quite awesome, quite awesome. He's what 2, 4, 6, 7 fight win streak now. It is what it is, man. The man's doing this thing. Is he ready for a title shot after this kind of performance? After the way he handled himself on the mic, I think he's gonna have to fight one or two more times. This is my guess, right? Of course, I'm not the one, making the decisions, but I'm guessing he might have to wait one or two more fights before he can get a title shot.
Yeah, well, no, and Shaman Steve says, the fire either consumes you or hardens your steel. No, 100%.
That's right. That's right.
We're seeing this in spades in Strickland's case. I'm gonna probably paraphrase because I don't know the exact or can't remember the exact quote, but to quote Conor McGregor, I apologize to absolutely fucking no one, right?
No
And
one.
this is this even in apologizing, right? Strickland is whatever. I don't think he cares. Just like he,
Hmm.
yeah, give him a fucking title shot or not. He's like, I'm a company man or whatever, which also could be a death knell to his career because, like, we're gonna put you in. Oh, you're on to Castro. Where the fuck are you again? We cut you, but let's just put you in there with Strickland because we can, right?
Hmm.
So, but also, again, there might be something amiss on the mental state of Sean Strickland,
Could
or
be.
just the way that he operates, the way that he perceives
Hmm.
the world is a
Hmm.
lot different than a lot of us, right? Or
Hmm.
maybe some of us, right?
Hey,
Maybe he's
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go
oh
ahead.
no,
Go ahead.
I was like maybe he's the majority and we're the minority, or vice
Hmm.
versa. But in any event,
Hmm.
it is what it is, and I don't think he cares. Like he wanted to perform the way whatever. I think he
Hmm.
was almost electing what he wanted to say to himself, where
Hmm.
he was sorry that he couldn't finish this motherfucker. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
he was kind of doing it internally, and we just so happened to be in the room, right? He's
Hmm.
talking in the man in the mirror, asking him to change his ways. I think that's
Hmm.
exactly what we fucking saw. Um,
Hmm.
and I don't, etiquette school for Sean Strickland. That's fucking not gonna happen because Sean Strickland
Hmm.
is that better or for
Hmm.
worse? Whether they cost him brain cells or fucking zeros at the end of his fucking paycheck. Sean Strickland is gonna do exactly what the fuck Sean Strickland wants to when he fucking
Hmm.
wants to.
I just hope a dude like that does well with his money because based on what I'm seeing, um I wouldn't want to see him searching for money after his career is over. People will get hurt based on a persona, you know, based on a persona. It seems there's a lack of control there. Seems. I'm not sure. Perhaps it's all a persona, and he's just so damn good at it that he's fooling all of us, right? I hope he's fooling me. I would prefer that he's fooling me rather than this be the reality in his true life. Um, I once saw him recently do a cribs thing in which he showed us where he lived. It doesn't seem like he spends his money very often, and that's a great thing, you know. I'm hoping that he is one of those people that puts up a front in front of the camera, but he's steady uh, investing his money in Fortune 500 companies and or whatnot, and hopefully there's a big payday down the line. I truly hope this is the case for Mr. Strickland. And hey,
No, 100%. Yeah, that's it. I don't, you know, you got Cowboy Cerrone, right? Where UFC legend and what have you, right? And he has said pretty openly, he's like, fuck, I see, the money in my bank account, I want to fucking spend it. I'm a wild man. He articulates himself a lot better than Strickland has, at least in my opinion. But that wild fucking thing, whatever you want to attribute it to. In other times it was maybe a screw loose or what have you, or a wire that's off or
mm-hmm,
whatever. And mental health is a real thing, so we're not making fun of it. These are
mm-hmm,
the ways that we use to describe it in different times. That doesn't echo the sentiment of today, but even still, right? Strickland is different, right? If he
definitely.
can, if he can be able to harness what he's got into something lucrative, which to an extent he already has, fuck yes, he's a main event of a fucking UFC card. That
Mm-hmm,
is that is awesome, right? But I also don't think he fucking cares. I don't fucking whether it be for no money in a fucking bar against BJ Penn and Concrete, Sean Strickland will fight it. You put UFC on, like, you're in the UFC fucking Apex parking lot, and the parking lot has a UFC fucking spray painted whatever. I am not all too convinced that Sean Strickland wouldn't get into a fight with you if you fucking picked a fight with him And UFC was like, no, fuck it.
Mm.
No legal, whatever. We'll pay for your legal bills, whatever. And some Joe Schmo fucking comes in and was like, I want to fight Sean Strickland in the UFC. Well, technically, the Apex parking lot is in the UFC, right? And he looks over at Dana White, and Dana White's like, no, fucking Sean, take him out. I'm not all too convinced that Sean Strickland wouldn't do that.
Of
Actually,
course,
I'm
he would
pretty
love
fucking
that.
good. I would fucking bet the house that's it. Take somebody from Twitter that fucking talks shit about Sean Strickland, fight him in the UFC fucking Apex parking lot, and no legal ramifications. UFC will fucking cover it. Sean Strickland will fucking do it. Yeah, he
Only
lives
a
in Vegas.
fool, only a
Yeah,
fool would subscribe to something like that.
yeah,
I mean, it seems the fella's unstable, and you want to fight him in a parking lot, he'll kill you.
yeah, yeah.
That dude
So
is nuts.
yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. So whether it be a UFC title fight or just a whatever short notice fight with somebody, I don't think Sean Strickland cares. Like
No, he doesn't.
we've given a lot more thought and ideology behind our actions than I think Sean Strickland is. 24 hours after the fight can fight, or 22 hours after the fight. So
Hey, either way, he definitely has something going here. This villain thing is legit, and it could become one of the most powerful things since McGregor. It
yeah,
depends. He speaks well. He uses a lot of profanity, which is part of the villain thing, which is fine. But I think there's something here. There's something here. He's got something here, and t-shirts, man, merchandise. I say he jumps into all that stuff immediately
mhm.
before his 15 minutes runs out, because all these champions, even John Jones, man, they all have a limited shelf life.
Yep.
Soon there will be someone new. There's always someone new. There's always someone new. So while your opportunity is here, maximize.
No, 100%. And Shaman Steve says his Tarzan is his nickname. Nope,
Mhm,
absolutely living up to all of it.
mhm,
So yeah, we will see what happens of Sean Strickland. But one thing that we did see, for better or for worse, Joe Rogan in the news for not just one, but two fucking controversies that befell of him. And you could maybe say the second one was compounded by two different stories or two different videos rather that were released with him saying the n-word or somebody compiling about a minute 30, 90 seconds of Rogan saying the n-word out of context, and then a time where Rogan and his friends were talking about Rogan watching with his friend Planet of the Apes and what have you. He said that he felt like he was in Africa, what have you, because he was in a primarily black neighborhood in somewhere in the Eastern Seaboard. I want to say it was
mhm,
Philadelphia, but
mhm,
it's one of those Eastern Seaboard towns. And forgive me if I don't remember that detail. But
mhm,
um, this is after Rogan, gets called on the carpet where Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, and a litany of others wanted wanted Spotify to essentially kick him off. My way or the highway. Either you kick
mhm,
Rogan off or you kick me off
mhm,
and my entire music catalog. And there was a lot of people there. And it seemed like Rogan came away unscathed, right? Like the fucking villagers with the fucking pitchforks and the torches, they were like, we're going to get you, Rogan. And they didn't, right? They
Oh, it ain't
didn't.
over. It ain't
Oh,
over.
no, it's not. It's not.
It's just
There's
the
going to,
beginning.
right, exactly. So with this scenario, I mean, actually, scenario number one, where the two podcasts that he did with two people that went against the conventional mainstream narrative of how COVID is whatever. And I say mainstream because it's stuff that traditional mainstream media are kind of highlighting and what have you. And Rogan had two people on that were not completely adverse of that, and that was too much for Neil Young and a litany of others. And Rogan put out on Instagram his kind of apologies and his feelings of the matter. And before we even get into the weekend, actually, I want to say it was yesterday, early yesterday, maybe even before the UFC, when the second controversy of him using the compilation of him using the N word, as well as the story about going to see Planet of the Apes, which I didn't think it was a bad story. It was Julian Smith actually commented on it on Facebook, on my Facebook page, when I posted the video, or without any, I mean, in context, and he was just like, I see what he was trying to say, but it was just a poor delivery, which Rogan himself in his apology video, and you could tell the difference between the removal from Spotify and the COVID whatever, him in a outdoors in a gray sweatshirt and a black sweatshirt indoors, is the one with the the racial overtone controversy. So that is kind of the facts that as they lay now. Even The Rock, in the first controversy, kind of taking the back of Rogan and saying, hey, well said or whatever. And then the second controversy, whatever, him walking back those statements. And it seems like the powers that be that want Rogan canceled have now gone off The Rock and his tweets. And The Rock is actively deleting his tweets. So whether it be The Rock himself or the people that manage his social media accounts are diligently fucking walking back anything that could be construed in this day and age as something offensive. So that's kind of where we are. So Voodoo, your thoughts on it all?
Okay. So the first thing that they come out with was misinformation, right? Misinformation. How many times has Dr. Fauci spewed misinformation? We have too many recordings of him. Too many. The president. What about him? It really bothers me when these people, I don't even know who the hell they are. These people, they come out and they start pointing fingers. They start pointing fingers when it's convenient for them to point fingers. This footage of Joe saying these things that he said. Yes, he said these things, right? I'm not giving him a pass, right? He said these things some 10, 11 years ago. Why didn't you come out then and say something, you bastards? Why didn't you come out then? You had 10, 11 years to come out and say something. You did nothing. Now that it's convenient for your political reasons, you want to come out and you want to start saying this. You want to start spinning these narratives. But unfortunately, a bunch of dummies are going to follow this and they're going to point fingers too. Unfortunately, we are in a sheep community. Follow us. People can't stop and think for a second for themselves and read between the lines. This Neil Young, I don't even know who Neil Young is. I don't even know this fella. This Neil Young and whoever you mention, these people. These are the same people that share the same platform. Goddamn rappers that are always rapping about the N-word and bitches ain't shit and hoes and tricks and all this nonsense. He had no problem then. He had no problem then. Goddamn hypocrite. Neil Young, I don't know you. I don't give a damn who you are, Neil Young. And tell me the other names so I can tell them to their face I don't give a damn who they are.
Joni Mitchell's one of them.
Joni Mitchell, I don't even know who the hell you are. Huh? You can kiss my ass, Joni Mitchell. That's how I feel about it. You coward. You a coward, Joni Mitchell. Neil Young. Who's that other person? Give me some more names so I can tell them about themselves.
Well,
Jesus, you too.
Let me look up the names.
Yeah, let's look up these cowards. All of y'all is a bunch of cowards. Cowards. Now that it doesn't fit your narrative, you got a problem? You got a problem? Huh? When those thugs are saying all they're saying with the same platform that you share with them, you had no problem. You had no problem. But now you got an issue. Because now you got an issue against this guy. Do I like what he said? No, I don't like what he said. I don't like what he said. What's new? What's new? If you really care so much, where's my laws? Why don't you fight for my laws, Neil Young? Huh? Why can't it be a hate crime when someone comes after me, huh? Hmm? Just what, a year ago? Didn't you just give the Asians a law, a hate crime law? Where's my law? Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, why don't you fight for that? I don't want to hear your nonsense. Get the hell off of Spotify if you want to go. Bounce. Nobody gives a damn. Maybe some people do, but I don't. Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, y'all can kiss my ass. And that's on the reals. I don't give a damn how you feel. I just don't. I don't. Too much hypocrisy in this United States of America. Way too much. Way too much. Way too much. Only when it fits your narrative. Now, oh my God, Joe Rogan said this. Joe Rogan said that. Joe Rogan said it in my face. I would have slapped the shit out of him. And I'm being real. I would have slapped the shit out of him. But that was 11 years ago. I'm not going to judge Joe Rogan what he said 11 years ago. This is 2022. Get your mind right. Get your act right. It seems to me that Joe has gotten his act right because there ain't no new footage of him doing this. You search some 11 years back, a decade. What? In his 40s then? Maybe late 30s?
Who?
Joe Rogan when he did this? Whatever he said, whatever they say he said, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he was
a younger man is the bottom line.
Right.
We know that as we grow, we become wiser.
You're right.
Uncle Ben in Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility. From my eyes, Joe has become wiser. Joe, I'm not advocating for Joe. Please don't get me wrong. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating for him, right? The son of a gun don't pay my rent. He don't pay for my clothes. You know what I'm saying? He don't do nothing for me. But facts are facts. Facts are facts. He is fighting a battle that no one else is willing to fight right now. This is why you sons of bastards are coming after him. Speak the truth. Let's put it all on the table. Put it all on the table. This is the reason why you're coming after him. Because he's going against the grain. He's not following the whoever. He's got a mind of his own now. He wants to speak to his own scientists. Yeah, there was some kind of mistake, some kind of misinformation. But y'all made mistakes too. Y'all made mistakes too. Why is y'all mistakes okay? Where was Neil Young when all these other people were making mistakes? And Sharon Stone, you too. Sharon Stone, where were you when all these people were making mistakes? A year or 2 years ago when they said such and such. But it turns out that it was actually wrong. Where were you then? Where were you? You're also a hypocrite. You're all hypocrites. Sons of bastards. You know what I want to say, but I'm not going to say it. It's just too much, man. First of all, they bombard you with all sorts of disgusting information to the point where you can't tell real from fake. You're cutting a bunch of videos, and then you want to make some kind of masterpiece, and then call that the gospel truth, and you want me to just follow that because you said so? No. I don't want to hear your nonsense. I don't want to hear it. Yes, he's wrong. His joke was not funny. In a weird way, I kind of understand what the joke was about. It's not a secret. There's a fear of the brown man. There's a fear. This is what he was expressing. He got out the cab and he saw nothing but black people. There was a fear. This is what it is. There was a fear there. He was scared. But he also expressed that once his anxiety went away, he had a great time in that neighborhood, even though it was an all-black neighborhood, all-black movie theater, whatever. He had a good time
That was the ending. Why didn't you put that in that goddamn piece that you made? Why didn't you put it in there? Yes, his joke
Right.
was distasteful, however you want to call it. I don't really care. It was distasteful. But he expressed at the end of that, he had a great time. You know what I mean? Yes, he judged the people before he got to know them. Yes, he judged the people before he got to know them. But once he got to know them, he spoke to the errors of his ways. And that's all I care about, man. He who is without stone, cast the first motherfucking stone. Go ahead. You ain't got no sins? Then go ahead and crucify Joe Rogan. Otherwise, I don't want to hear anything you got to say.
Yeah, no, you're to me. I think you're absolutely right. And again, right is subjective. I think they're right. Some people might not. Some people not think Joe Rogan is right. But let's take some facts, right? Oh, so you wanted to know the list, right? So obviously we've
Yeah,
got
let's
Neil Young, Neil Young, and Joni Mitchell, and along with Neil Young, his partners in Crosby, Stills, and Nash. So that's David Crosby, Stephen Stills, Graham Nash, right? Then you've got, at least for the racial part of it, India Ari, right? She is,
okay.
uh,
I've seen that I've seen that. Let's stop right there.
wait,
India
I
Ari
got
or
another one.
whatever. First
I
of all, hold up. I need to address this lady. I need to address this lady. She needs to be addressed, right? You had no problem with Little Dirk, YG, and all these people saying them things that they say on Spotify, destroying our communities with that foul language, that foul music, that drill music. You had no problem with none of that. But you got a problem with Joe? Joe ain't your problem, God damn it. He's the least of your worries. What you need to do is look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Look at your own community, right? Instead of pointing the finger, point a finger at yourself. Point a finger at yourself and be honest with yourself. What have you done? Ari, whatever your name is, what have you done about Little Dirk? What have you done about Pooh Shiesty? Whatever. I don't know these guys. I don't know these dudes, but I know they're drill rappers, and I know what they rap about. I know what they rap about. I know they rap about the dead. Hmm? I know they rap about the dead, but you ain't got a problem with that, do you? Do you? What are you doing to fix that? Hmm? Hmm? Why aren't you telling Spotify to get them dudes off of Spotify? Hmm? Hmm? Get the hell out of here, Ari, whatever your name is. If you got a problem, get at me. Get at me. Voodoo Maximus. Get at me. Let's go.
yeah.
Who else? Who else needs a talking to?
This one is kind of fun, not fun, but it was weird for me because I'm actually a Bruce Springsteen fan, but Bruce Springsteen's lead guitarist, Nils Lofgren, which, again, you don't know. Yeah, many people
Another
who.
dude I don't know, man. Who the hell are
Exactly.
these people? Who are these people? Who are these people? I'm from, hey, man, there's no music like 80s music, right? And I don't know these fellas. I'm sure they're from the 80s, right? All these people, they were
No,
probably big
well,
in the
okay.
80s.
Joni Mitchell and Neil Young, 60s, 70s, into the 80s, yes.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Do 60s, 70s, right? Right? Do they have a history of standing up for the black man?
Yeah.
Then shut the hell up, you
Just,
goddamn hypocrite.
uh,
Shut the hell up. Shut the
that's,
hell up.
and
You damn hypocrite. Get
yeah.
the hell out of here with that. Joni Mitchell and whatever that other old dude's name is.
Well, I
Get the
mean,
hell out of here
okay,
with that
Joni
nonsense.
Mitchell
What?
has in the past, but
What?
she goes with a global scientific community. That's the stats that
Kiss
she's
my
going
ass,
on
bro.
now.
Tell her I said that.
Right.
Joni Mitchell, kiss my ass.
Right.
Straight
Okay.
up.
So
That's how I feel about it.
and getting to the comments, Shaman Steve says more Americans need this righteous vitriol. We are constantly steered like sheep. Enough rights,
Enough is
natural
enough,
rights,
man.
right? And
Come on, man.
Fight Life Nation saying, My take on the Rogan controversy is this: I personally don't say the N word. Personally, I don't know how it affects the friends I care about, so I don't want to hurt their feelings. And Joe, let's see. I'm sorry. I lost the comment. Yeah, Joe doesn't throw the word around. He only brought it up when quoting other who actually or actually discussing the language. They are trying to make it like it was completely casual. And as far as his story, I think there's something to be said about how much people talk. If your job is to talk a lot, you're gonna say, you're gonna say some stupid shit. Same, and
Hey,
I'm
hey,
not nowhere near.
also you gotta remember that they stay loaded, drinking and smoking on the podcast. You know what I'm saying? He's chilling with his white homies. You know what I'm saying? They're from Boston. We know the history of Boston. You know what I mean? This is what he was taught growing up. Let's put it all on the table. Let's put it all on the table. You know what I mean? Uh, 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 Dark skin is not favored in Boston. Put it all on the table, America. Huh? Stop picking and choosing. Stop picking and choosing. It is quite clear that brown folks aren't really liked in Boston. It's a fact. It's a fact. Miss me with all that nonsense. Miss me with all that nonsense. Yeah, he said what he said, but he also apologized.
Yeah,
What else? What else is there? The man apologized for
sure.
something he said 11 years ago.
Yeah,
Same thing happened with Kevin Hart. You know what I'm saying? It was something that he did some 10 years ago. Get out of here with this nonsense. I don't want to hear what they did 10, 15 years. I want to know what they're doing today.
right.
Tell me what he did today. All I see is he's standing up against the system. That's what I see.
Yeah,
He's standing up against the system and he's putting out their laundry, their dirty laundry. He's letting us all see. This is what I see. This is what I see, and this is why they're trying to stop him. And I don't subscribe to that nonsense. I don't subscribe to that nonsense. Joni Mitchell might. What's that old man's name again?
who?
Neil Young
Neil
might.
Young. Right.
Whatever Ari might. I don't. You know what I mean? You can't Jedi mind trick me. I've fallen for it before on
Yeah,
this internet. I've been quick to jump to conclusion. No, not today, homie. Not today. Not today. I
yeah,
won't jump to conclusion. Even if Joe still feels like that, as long as he keeps that shit to himself, we good. We good. We good. But if he wants to make it up to me, keep fighting that fight you're fighting, Joe Rogan. You want to make it up to me? Hmm? You want to make it up to me? Keep fighting that fight. Keep bringing those scientists that's going to disprove this mandate. This mandate. These sons of bastards made me get the goddamn vaccine against my wishes. I'm still upset about that. They threatened to take food off my kids' table, take money from me, put me on ice, and not fire me. Put me on ice so I don't collect unemployment. I know it's not their fault. It's the government's fault. The government did that to them to make them do that to me. I get it. Doesn't make it okay. This is supposed to be the land of the free, home of the brave, isn't it? Isn't it? Why don't I have a choice over my own body? I've yet to feel the same since I got this goddamn shot. And I'm speaking from experience. I was fine until this damn shot. I used to heal faster until this damn shot. And don't say it's because of my age, because it's not. I've seen a difference within the past 3 months in my health. It's not what it was. I was fine until I got this goddamn shot. And he's just trying to get to the bottom of it. Why are people feeling the way they feel? What's going on? I want to know. If the government told us the truth, we won't have to need a Joe Rogan to search for the truth. I mean, it is what it is, man. I'm not saying there's something wrong with this vaccine. All I'm saying is me, didn't feel right after I got it. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Nothing against vaccines, once again. Nothing against vaccines. I support vaccines. However, this one, what's going on? What's going on? Why are you forcing me? That's the question that I'm asking. Why are you forcing me? Why are you forcing me? First, you make me stay in my house for a year. 1 year. Now you're telling my kids they got to keep some mask on? Hmm? Do we understand that children read facial features, read lips, in understanding and communicating? Now that I have to do this, how are you going to understand me? Hmm? Hmm? When is all this nonsense going to be over? Hmm? Joni Mitchell, Ari, whatever your name is, why aren't you speaking up on this? Hmm? What happened to freedom of choice, freedom of religion, freedom of this and that? Was it all just talk? Was it all just talk? Can one of y'all step up? One of y'all step up.
Yeah.
If I had the platform, I'll step up.
Yeah. So
Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, Ari, whatever your name is.
yeah,
These
India
people,
Ari. Yeah. I mean, and
whatever.
Shaman TV says it's too much. Yeah, and in this case, I felt like he addressed the words immediately in the clip. He admitted that it was dumb to say seconds after saying him, right, in the original clip, and that's not even included in the Instagram and everywhere that you can literally find Joe Rogan. He addressed it head on, just like he did the vaccine. There's a 10 to 12 minute video of Rogan addressing it. If he was the villain that everybody says he was, he would fucking cower and hide. No, he's taking it head on, and you can see that he's visibly upset with everything and the way that makes it feel. And the people who know him, like Sagar and Jetty and a Crystal Ball and all of his comedian friends and fighter friends and what have you. But then there are people, because it's a mob mentality. I saw one UFC fighter with a verified check mark that was like, "Oh, I want to go on the Rogan podcast." He wouldn't tell me that, whatever. I'm like, have you interviewed with him? Does he want to interview you? You're kind of using it. I mean, at least what I saw is you're using it so you can kind of like essentially get invited to his house and shit on his table. So you're probably not are going to get that deal. And how many DMs has he gotten since or whatever of people that just kind of want the clout of fucking being in that chair, right? And we've addressed it earlier in the earlier in the formation of this show, where getting on the Joe Rogan podcast is more than the $50,000 that the UFC gives. That's what they're aiming for. So that there's that. And then I'm definitely going to get into the comments that. And a Fight Life Nation says if the left is trying to tear them down because he has a platform. He brings intelligent people of all sides to talk about COVID. The left only wants their narrative push. Disagree. Because if it's a left or right thing, because Bernie Sanders, Candace Owens, whatever, he's disagreed with them all, right? And he's treated all with respect. So it's not a right or left thing. And even the fact that that is almost a binary thing. It's left or right. It's right or wrong, what have you. That's kind of the thing. It's not a right or left or anything like that. I mean, Rogan, if you know his history, he is somebody that grew up. His parents were hippies in San Francisco. I don't even believe he was he was raised in Boston, but he was born elsewhere. He's part Irish, part Italian. And every when you go left and right and whatever, yeah, right wingers want to attach themselves to him, hitch the whatever, because he hunts, he grills meat, whatever the fuck, talks guns and cars or whatever. So you'd whatever. Never has Rogan said I'm left or right. He's had left wing people, right wing people. So again, to kind of put it in that deal, Rogan is not that. At least in my belief. I could be completely wrong, right? And I think Voodoo has been dead on, no, 100%. And damn, Pius taking it to that level. No, absolutely. And no,
right,
they don't.
Mr. Tyndall. I mean, what else can we do, man? I mean, like, I'm tired of these people, man. These people always want to control our lives with their nonsense, with their little squabbles. You know what I mean? If you really got an issue with the other side, why don't you meet up with them and handle it?
Mm-hmm.
Meet up with him in Hanley. Why you gotta drag us into this? You know what I'm saying? Why you gotta drag us into this? I mean, you talk of all these COVID shots. Somebody's making money. Somebody has a patent on this thing. Why no one is speaking to the person with a patent? Somebody got a patent on this COVID thing, right? Why is no one talking to the fella with the patent?
Record
Why
profits.
did your patent end up in China?
Record
Why
profits.
did your patent end up in China? Huh?
Record profits for every company that administers a version of the vaccine.
Okay.
Worldwide.
Okay.
Worldwide.
So why aren't we talking about that?
Okay.
That seems to be the issue.
Yeah. And
talk about that.
Voodoo taking no prisoners. Likewise,
no prisoners.
Linus, right? And Voodoo Maximus for president 2024. I'd get on
go.
that ticket.
I will 100%. Run. Y'all vote for me, I will run.
I'll write
Bring
it in.
order and justice
I'm
back
write
to
it in.
America.
I'm gonna fucking write
Let's
it in.
really make America great.
Absolutely.
For the first time.
Yeah. And this is the most real talk I've seen in years. It says Robert Tyndall.
I mean, for real though.
And Rogan supported Bernie Sanders. He was as left as you can get, theoretically. I mean, in terms of institutional left, right? So, Jesus, there's so much, right? So, and not just the people, right? We talked about Nils Lofgren, the Joni Mitchell, Crosby, Stills, Nash, India.Arie, Neil Young, right? Lest we forget, just a year ago, Neil Young specifically signed over his entire licensing rights to all of his music, all of his catalog, to a big fucking conglomerate that has ties to BlackRock, right? The BlackRock, for you guys that don't know, is a company, a multinational company that essentially, I mean, they do many of things, right? They're involved in the stock market. They're involved in crypto. They're everything. But it has been found out, unearthed to an extent, where they are buying neighborhoods, not houses, not commercial buildings, not, family dwellings or whatever. No, entire fucking neighborhoods to jack up the price. So no one, I don't care if everybody's like, LA is so expensive. They're doing that shit in fucking Coeur d'Alene, Iowa or Idaho. They're doing that shit in Des Moines, Iowa. They're doing that shit in fucking, Opelika, Florida. They're doing that shit in fucking Bangor, Maine. This is, they're doing that shit in Nice, France. They're doing it everywhere, right? And that's just like one of the companies. But that is essentially a subsidiary of this fucking financial institution that is also trying to fucking tank the stock market, right? That's why this AMC and fucking GameStop thing is so pivotal and has never happened before, which, total disclosure, I'm kind of in. I've got a position, right? In both things, right? So he sold his rights to that company. So where is it, right? And again, Rogan showed his affection to both Neil Young and Joni Mitchell. He didn't blame them, right? But is it Joni Mitchell and fucking Rogan themselves, or is it people pulling the strings behind them? Because now they don't have the rights. Does the rights essentially include not just the recordings? Maybe it's the social media fucking handles that's being perpetuated by these fucking things that are taking down Rogan. Because also, a lot of these fucking multinational fucking companies, international companies, also have ties in. Wouldn't you know who won the pony? Fox News, MSNBC, whatever. And Rogan is kicking their asses, right? So this is it. This is some of the brass tacks that some of these catalogs that are supposedly being pulled off of Spotify or petitioned to be pulled off of Spotify are owned by fucking horrible people, horrible fucking companies, right? That just want to perpetuate wealth and plentifulness on their end. And for the rest of us, we are fucked. That's kind of it. And again, Neil Young didn't, he just saw the fucking chunk of money. It's like, whatever. Same thing with, we're talking about Nils Lofgren. Well, Nils Lofgren, again, guitarist for the E Street Band, where I believe Bruce Springsteen has done a similar thing, or on the cusp of signing his entire catalog away to one of these big ass companies, which Nils Lofgren has a fucking financial stake in it. So of course he's gonna fucking go, oh, I'm so angry. Well, why aren't you talking to the boss? Literally, the boss, fucking Bruce Springsteen, who again I'm a fan of. So there's nothing, whatever. But you're the guitarist of a 15 fucking piece band. Goddamn, you're one guy. And let's say the other 14, which one of it in the glory days, right? And pardon the pun, because one of Bruce Springsteen's song is Glory Days, right? Is a damn near 7-foot black gentleman named Clarence Clemens, right? Clarence Clemens, unfortunately, no longer with it, but his son is filling in for his parts, right? Touring and recording, right? Maybe Nils Lofgren, we don't know, whatever, as this potential sale, if it didn't already happen already, of the entire Bruce Springsteen catalog is about to get sold to the highest fucking bidder. And again, what's his name? Bob Dylan. He fucking sold something. He's inspired everyone from Bob Marley to fucking Hendrix and whatever the fuck. He took the fucking money. Right? These seminal pieces of fucking freedom and rights and whatever the fuck. And this is it. And again, we're also denying what Spotify is. Everybody wants to talk about freedom and shit when it comes to Spotify. Spotify is not a U.S. company. They don't, yes, they operate in the U.S. and whatever the fuck, but they're not really, it was talked about having a disclaimer in the first Rogan video, on the controversial fucking shit and whatever, on the podcast that is there, and the Planet of the Apes one. Rogan deleted that fucking episode eons ago, according to Rogan, and somebody fucking had time on their hands to fucking destroy Rogan, and it was like, I'll dredge that shit back up. The version that I saw was at least 4 years old. And it happened during the time of fucking Spotify. I mean, like before the Spotify deal. Why wasn't it brought up any then? Yeah. I don't know. This shit is really, really fucking. Yeah. And okay, if you want to say Rogan's a white supremacist or whatever, again, Irish Italian. Okay. So whatever. But he knows that he's, a fucking lighter gentleman. So he goes like, oh, white guy. I'm a white guy and this shouldn't be said or whatever, but he's, Italians and Irish weren't looked upon when they came over in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and even the turn of the century. They weren't looked at as higher class when they came to Ellis Island in New York, if you know your history. Okay?
Yes.
I mean, hell, shit. Foster was my paternal grandmother's maiden name. My grandmother was half Irish, half native. So some of my origins come from the very same origins that Rogan's family came from. Okay, so there's that. But I identify as somebody of color in this country, and with the fullest extent of the law, because I mean, Rogan doesn't have to worry about fucking driving a fancy car or whatever the fuck, right? And not being pulled over, whereas I do. I don't think I'm ever gonna have a luxury car. Not because I might not be able to afford it or what have you. It's just I don't want that fucking drama. Not at all. When Niecy Nash, who played a fucking cop in what is it? Reno 911, her fucking son got pulled over by a cop who was a fan of the mom and didn't believe that that was his mom. And the fucking car was registered in her name, but not Niecy Nash. Denise Nash, her given name, not her stage name. Okay, and that's
I don't see anybody pointing a lot at that. You know what I'm saying? It's the culture, man. It's the culture. Yeah. This is the fact. This is the truth. The culture in America is as such. Don't try and point a finger at Joe Rogan and single him out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You want to single him out? Point a finger at everyone else.
Right. And
everyone else.
And again, this white supremacist is like weird shit that people are saying. Like for me, I mean, he'll have a Steve Ranella on or whatever. They talk about guns and hunting or whatever. To me, that's not my jam. When he's on with fucking Tony Hinchcliffe, right? He talks shit about pro wrestling, right? He does. But also you could hear him fucking cry when hearing the stories of DDP and the people that Diamond Dallas Page has helped through DDP yoga, right? You could all when Jake the Snake was on, wanted to fucking hear about fucking Andre the Giant stories. Because guess what? Rogan grew up primarily in Boston. I lived a bunch of other places, which some of the same places where I grew up, in fucking San Francisco, well, whatever. There's a lot of similarities, right? But he grew up in Boston. Again, Boston was a hotbed of the then WWF and later WWF, where Bruno Sammartino and Pedro Morales and Andre the Giant and superstar Billy Graham. So Rogan he might not admit it, or he flip-flops or whatever, but I look at the essence of the person, which I have a dream speech with MLK was supposed to, it was supposed to be the character of the person, not what they, that was his dream, right? And nothing talk about hypocrites, right? The fucking FBI during MLK Day was like, "Happy Martin Luther King, never forget all the shit." Oh, the FBI that wanted him killed. You're fucking putting on your Twitter, remember MLK? Cool story. Awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you know, again, it's so
hey. I also remember J. Edgar Hoover talking about, y'all folks, y'all ain't gonna get another leader until we create one for you. Never again a natural leader will come out of your community. We will be the one to create it. I remember that too. Why ain't nobody talking about that, huh? Why ain't nobody talking about that? Why ain't nobody talking about this president of ours back in the 70s, not that long ago, in my lifetime? In my lifetime. You remember what he was saying back then? Can't have my kids going to school with jungle bunnies. Why ain't nobody pulling up what he said then and bringing it out now? Didn't his son use the N-word too? Why ain't nobody saying that? What's up? Put it all on the table.
Yeah.
Let's put it all on the table and let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Oh, you bunch of hypocrites. Man, I'm tired of talking about these folks, man. If y'all got a problem, this voodoo in the woods. Come holler at us. We here. We're not going nowhere. We right here. You want to debate us? Come on. We right here. Come on, Joni Mitchell. Come on, Ari, whatever. What's her name? Ari, what? Ari? Whatever. What's that old man's name again? Neil Young? What's up? Come talk to me, Neil Young. If you got an issue with what I'm saying, otherwise you kiss my ass, like I said. And that's that.
Yeah. No, there's I mean, Robert Tyndall, he's you all need to branch out from talking about the fight game. This shit is good. Maybe we'll offshoot this. And I see a bumper sticker now, Woods in Inilo Lobo. I think Inilo Lobo Woods is better. I'll take running mate. I don't want the fucking the responsibility of president. But if Voodoo wants it, whatever, I will gladly be his running mate. 100%. And I've never heard the J. Edgar Hoover quote.
Look him up.
Most haven't.
Hey, Mr. Tyndall, you're a historian. No. You're an English fella. Look it up and you will find it. Trust me. It's there.
Yeah. And I mean, the formation of the FBI and whatever, it was never meant to be, at least in the auspices of J. Edgar Hoover, it operated completely separate from the U.S. government. It wasn't supposed to be folded in. If you know history, it wasn't supposed to be folded in. It was J. Edgar Hoover who, and a lot of people thought, and it's very similar to Gawker, right? A lot of people, there are rumblings around town that J. Edgar Hoover might be a gay gentleman, right? Which that wasn't vogue. That wasn't vogue in the 50s.
Fishnets and high heels.
Right. And again, he's an Anglo gentleman worried about this stuff. So his deal was like, if you fucking do that shit to me, cool. You want to threaten me with the way that I am? Cool. I want to dig as much dirt on you as feasibly possible. That's politicians, athletes, entertainers, whatever, right? To essentially blackmail him to get as much fucking intel on them. So if it was said that he's gay, what that would be a drop in the bucket compared to all the shit that he had on them. That's
Dirty
the way.
bastard.
I mean, again, and there's of that time, right? The 50s, 60s, 70s, and prior. There's so much that's racially tinged. Black. I mean, Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Danson dating, and Whoopi Goldberg is like, "Hey, Ted, why don't you dress in blackface, and I'm gonna write your fucking jokes." That almost killed and he was just coming off of Cheers, right? As Sam Malone, a very seminal fucking sitcom of the 80s and shit like that. And yeah, it almost tanked his fucking career, man. So it's all weird, and I will point out to it, right? White supremacists, but Daryl Davis, right? The pianist that befriends the guys in the KKK, and them going like, "Oh fuck, maybe we were wrong," and literally giving him all of their robes. He's got fucking KKK Grand Wizard robes. Rogan's had him on. Candace Owens, who's pretty far right as a African American woman. Well, I don't know how she wants to identify. I'm not whatever, and I don't agree with a lot of the shit she says. And Rogan didn't either. So to say that he's totally right wing or whatever, nah. I don't know. There's more than meets the eye, is what I'm saying. You might want to have to, and even saying he's left wing, you might have to dig a little bit deeper.
I also saw The Rock
Yes.
post some nonsense or whatever about, oh, now I understand his whole narrative or whatever. Man, shut the hell up, bro. You know what I mean? I didn't know you was black until recently. You ain't never claimed black. You've always claimed Samoan or something like that. So why all of a sudden you care so much?
Okay. Can I speak on that? Because
please jump in, man.
Okay.
Please jump in. Help your brother.
Rocky Johnson, The Rock's father, right, was actually Canadian, right? Not that means anything here or whatever, but he grew up in Nova Scotia. In Nova Scotia. He himself never identified as black, right?
So what's it
as told by his tag team partner Tony Atlas. Now, Tony Atlas, that you can take that from a grain of salt, because supposedly Tony Atlas was there when Bruiser Brody, got killed by the invader in Puerto Rico, and he's changed his fucking story on that night litany of times, right? So you can whatever, but Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas have the distinction of being the very first African American tag team champions, right? If there's the picture that they took, I think in Allentown, Pennsylvania, but literally they won the titles. They weren't booked on any other shows until I think they dropped it, right? But in recent times, they have never, up until when Rocky Johnson passed away, it wasn't like Tony Atlas was in Rocky's funeral. They hated each other. Rocky Johnson hated the fact that they were enshrined in WWF history as the first African American deals. He thought he was more than that. We've had situations like that in terms of like OJ. I'm not black. I'm not white. I'm OJ. So I don't know. These are just things that I've seen, and also having Dr. Cornell West and Dr. Cornell West telling Joe Rogan, my brother Joe, my brother Joe, my brother Joe, and Joe, you could see all of the fucking what is it, wrinkles on the brain, if you believe in that ideology in terms of the cerebral cortex or whatever, that Dr. Cornell West was fucking blowing Rogan's mind for 3 hours, right? But also has people like Wiz Khalifa, who uses fucking the N-word in his music. I don't listen to much of Wiz Khalifa. I personally don't, and I've taught my kids not to use any racial epithets, right? The N-word. I don't care if it's ER or GA. That's not a word that you can turn good. Just like the swastika. The swastika in some native circles was a sign of medicine, right? It was the Germans that fucking took it, right? And there, I mean, it was not just the natives. There was different cultures. There's a lot of different cultures that basically used the swastika before Hitler and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't undo that. How many people fucking died? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't undo the you can't you can't undo the N-word, right? The people, when you think about it, when people were lynched or burned or whatever, the local townspeople, the law and order thought was good. Look at fucking Emmett Till.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fucking lie. The lady who, you guys know the story. He was somebody from Chicago, a teenager that wasn't too far in age from Voodoo and Ice Kids. Went down. The lady said, "Oh, he wolf whistled at me." Whatever. Her husband and his friends went and beat the shit out of this kid to the point where they put it in Jet magazine. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't even look like a fucking person. And the lady on her deathbed came clean. He never did that shit. Where's that? Where's that? Is that taught in schools?
Where you at, Neil Young? Where you at, Neil Young? Joni, whatever. Ari, whatever.
Right.
Where y'all at?
Right. So with Wiz Khalifa, right, who uses that word in his music, right? Do you know how many times in a damn near 3-hour interview or podcast with Rogan, do you know how many times he's uttered the word the N-word?
A whole lot.
Not one time.
Okay.
Not one time. Not one time. Go back. As I'm stating this, right? It's been some years since the podcast initially dropped. He doesn't say it one time. I've listened for it. I myself have been like the people that were drudging up. And again, 12 years of podcasting, only 90 seconds of spliced together N-words without context. Okay?
Mm.
But Wiz Khalifa didn't, whatever. Rogan is generally the person, right? Fuck the persona. He will tell you he never intended for this to be this big. That he gets more downloads than every fucking media outlet combined per episode. He never intended that. He's a comedian. Like, I saw a fucking article. It said literally the establishment media is scared of a guy who talks MMA, mushrooms, and aliens. That's who threatens the fucking traditional deal. And if you've noticed, right, Fox News, CNN, all of the periodicals, right, the New York Times, New York Post, Washington Post, whatever, when Trump was president, they did record business because the shit Trump would say. Right? They did record business. Their businesses are tanking because Biden doesn't have the same vitriol or whatever, right? And Robert Tyndall saying, "How about you ain't black if you don't vote for me?"
Nobody said anything to him.
Right.
Joe, where's Joni Mitchell? Where's that Ari lady when he said that? How come she didn't have a problem with that? Where's Neil Young? Where you at, Neil Young?
Yeah. And spitting facts. William Casey in 1981, former CIA director, said, "We'll know our disinformation campaign is complete when everything the American citizens know is a lie." And that's a quote.
They're doing such a good job of it too.
Yep. And all the politicians are compromised. The illusion of choice. And that's it, and that's the thing. No matter who it is, whether it be local government, right, city council, mayor, board of the school district, whatever the fuck, right up until the president, at least here in this country, in the US. I don't know how everything works in parliaments and whatever otherwise, right? I mean, Canada literally has fucking truckers opposing Justin Trudeau. Trudeau has left the country. The prime minister fucking left the country, right? And they're trying to peg those guys and girls are as white supremacists because one person had a Confederate flag. This is how dumb it is. Canadian having a Confederate flag. And it was one guy. And you know what happened to the one guy? All of the fucking truckers that wanted freedom, that still want freedom, they fucking kicked his ass out. But that's what's happening in the news cycle. Oh, Confederate flag. You know what a fucking Confederate flag means in Canada? Dog shit. Dog shit. It's not their history. It's ours, or whoever subscribed to it. And actually, if you live in America, it is. It is. And let me kind of go on that tip. You can't be like, oh, this is my culture, right? And also American. Why? Because again, the states of the Confederacy were completely separate from the United States. That's why we have the fucking Civil War, right? Okay, so you can't be ideologically, if you're really playing it straight down the middle. Second Amendment, that was done because, again, the natives and the English and even the Spanish were going to take their shit back, right? They didn't have an army. So guess what? You arm your citizens. That's why the Second Amendment exists, okay? Because we didn't have a military. We didn't have police. But now we have people that are pro-Second Amendment and also pro-military, pro-police. But literally, if you didn't have one, you wouldn't have the other. Okay? So, and then with the fucking, Civil War. Again, Jefferson Davis, there was actual Confederate money that they traded around the South. Right? So how can you want that to be a part of your culture but still call yourself an American? Because you're not. You're supporting the losing side of treason. Okay? That's it. I mean, if you guys are really going into whatever, if you guys want to search down wormholes, you don't have to go too far down to figure this shit out. But again, it's not perpetuated in schools. It's not whatever. A narrative is always being taught. The people in Texas don't learn the same shit as the kids in Compton versus the people in Florida. It's different shit. And that's why you feel a difference going state to state. You literally feel a difference. And I saw that firsthand driving from California to Georgia over the summer last year. It feels different. But that's true with LA. East LA feels different than Compton. That feels different than Venice Beach. That feels different than Watts. That feels different than Santa Monica, than West Covina, or what have you. If you're doing it right, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to get a little bit weird. And that's the thing. And Rogan definitely brings the weird, right? And we need more of this, to rage against the machine. And I think that's really what's happening here.
That's what Joe's doing. And they don't like it. He's raging against the machine.
And much like Derek Lewis, right? Derek Lewis doesn't give a shit, right? Sean Strickland doesn't give a shit if he's got the title or not. He's just there. Same thing with Rogan. Rogan never meant to be this guy. He picks the guests himself. Like, shit, dude. Like, and for me as a podcaster, that is the last vestige of true and utter freedom. And it's coming to you by way of a fucking Eastern European company in Spotify. Okay? Trump had a base, and it's President Trump, just like it's President Biden and Obama and whatever, right? President Trump had a base in the South, right? In the South, the one that have the Confederate flag in the culture and want to be, don't want their statues to be torn down, right? Because they feel it's the culture or whatever, even though it went against the United States, right? They want the South to rise again, whatever the fuck that means, right? Guess who's doing the bidding, right? The Northerner, Trump. You think he gives a shit about the South? His wife was living in New York, which, again, to a Southerner, right, left, or center, Jim Cornette hates the Northeast, who lives in Kentucky and is left wing, but says some shit that is horrible. That's just what we're going to get. And you don't, when you silence people for things that you disagree with, well, guess what? you won't have the context to save the next generation from stepping into the same shit. And that's why history will always repeat itself. We might be, depending on who you ask, right? Civil War was done fucking what? How many? At least 200 years ago? And we might be on the verge in 2024 of another one. Just because the two people that we had before and the people now don't represent the people. That's just where we are. We haven't learned. We haven't learned. And they try to censor Martin Luther King and Lenny Bruce and Malcolm X and George Carlin and Sammy Davis Jr., Marilyn Monroe, JFK, whatever. And again, right, left, white, black, Asian, all of them. Trying to censor them all. And it's not just us, right? You know, anybody that's just like, fucking Europeans came over, whatever, took all the, took over the native, the Aztecs, Incas, what have you, that permeated what is now where we live here into Mexico, right? And the rest of the native, the Apache, the whatever, right? Well, guess what? The Comanche was fucking doing that. They didn't have any skills other than the fact that they were murderous, raping motherfuckers, which not too different than the Europeans. That shit was happening before the Europeans got here. That shit happens anytime you put one person or one tribe above more people. It happens in corporate deal. It happens everywhere. And it
happens in the UFC.
Happens in the UFC. Gosh damn. Yes, it does. It's nothing new. Again, if you are a purveyor of history, even in a glancing text, it's all been done before, to quote the Bare Naked Ladies. Which, funny enough, I don't think that they're trying to get their music pulled from Spotify, but I could be wrong. That could change tomorrow. They feel like
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, again, take your stances and whatever, but again, you got to pay the piper when you have it, right? And at least in the case of Neil Young, right, and possibly Niels Lofgren, they're compromised. Neil Young sold his entire fucking catalog, right? A catalog that includes the Rocking in Free World that Joe Rogan referenced in his apology video, right? And he told the story that he was working a fucking, I think it was Great Woods in Boston, in Massachusetts, what have you, a concert venue, right? And Neil Young was playing, and they were starting fires, and he brought a fucking, a hoodie so he can get the fuck out of Dodge if shit got squirrely, right? And he did that, and he was like, "Keep on rocking in the free world," sang it all the way home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again,
yeah.
But Neil Young is compromised. He fucking took the money, from a company that if he didn't have to look too far, or his handlers didn't have to look too far, is the emphasis of exactly the things that he has fought and sang about his entire career. I mean, Neil Young, for my deal, badass. They wanted him to make a fucking rock and roll record, right? Because he went electric from acoustic. So you know what this motherfucker does? It's like, okay, I see your rock and roll record, and makes a fucking 50s era tinged rock and roll record. Not the fucking hair metal or whatever that was permeating the time. Not the grunge that was into the 80s and 90s and grunge and hair metals of the 80s. No, he made a fucking 1950s record. That's some fucking rock and roll shit. That's some fuck you shit. But he's become the man. In the sense that Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols, right? Fucking Nevermind the Bullocks and fucking, I Am the Antichrist, right? But during COVID, when they were, the homeless encampments were kind of surrounding his his fucking multi-million-dollar property in Venice Beach, he wanted them out. I thought you were punk rock, the personification of punk rock. Get a little money, shit changes. Put this episode in a time capsule. We might get canceled by whatever, like Theans and shit like that, or the robots. The robots will be programmed to, I don't know, zap it. I don't know. And that's why, I mean, shit, we might get canceled if
We might
tomorrow
get
you wake
islands.
yeah, if you wake up and you're a subscriber of Voodoo in the Woods and this episode is not here, you know why. And that's why we gotta fucking tell it right now in real time. So again,
We
it's yeah. So again, everything is fluid. And again, and what Rogan wanted, especially after the last controversy, he began with the words "a teachable moment." He ended with "a teachable moment." He wants this to be a teachable moment. This is somebody who, not like somebody who says some fucked up shit and now has to donate to Black Lives Matter. I don't know how Black Lives Matter. Me personally, became started as a rallying cry, and it turned out to an organization where if somebody said some fucked up shit, they donate to. Huh? What?
Mhm.
Same thing. Susan G. Komen and Wounded Warriors. There's expose. 70% of what you donate to those two organizations specifically, right? Unfortunately, goes to administrative costs, and only 30% goes to the actual people that they're supposed to represent. It's no different than politics. It's exactly politics.
Dirty bastards.
Again, just come on, guys. Like,
Wait a minute. Isn't the Black Lives Matter folks being investigated for buying some property for $6.3 million? Hmm?
Yeah.
Hmm? Wasn't that money supposed to go to Amir Rice's parents and John Floyd and all
Yeah,
these people?
yeah.
Did they even see any
George
change
Floyd.
at
Yeah,
all? Did they see anything? George Floyd? Did those people see anything from this Black Lives Matter group?
yeah,
Hmm?
yeah. And again, it's not just it's Trump basically hosting people in Washington at his private hotel and charging the U.S. government, which if you theoretically do it right and are upside a citizen, you're supposed to pay your taxes. Look at Wesley Snipes, and they got his ass right. And tax dollars are going to a private deal. Those girls that sang at all of the Trump rallies and shit like that. They got found out about them too, right? It's both. It's both again to make it a left side, right side, whatever. It's not that. It's something deeper. It's to sow deceit amongst your fellow man, to give less faith and less candor to your fellow, less grace to your fellow man. To pick fights. Oh, you're this complexion, whatever. You went to this school, whatever. We're about to go into the Super Bowl. Do you think those fucking teams and the people who run them give a shit about us?
Mm-mm.
It's just, yeah, it's, yep, the ultimate con. No, 100%. And this is where it is. The in wrestling, it was like Canada versus US. There was no real fucking contention, right? It was just a storyline, what have you. But UCLA versus USC, Inglewood versus Compton, Florida versus California, Texas versus Florida, or take it down. Whether it be politics, whether it be you don't like sports, cool, but wherever you went to school for higher education, it has an adversary. Why? You guys are still gonna get reamed no lube for hundreds of thousands of dollars for a piece of paper that by the time you graduate ain't gonna be worth shit. Because again, that scenario that I was explaining to my son, that degree, you're going up against the people in your class and people with that same degree for 5, 10, 15, even more years before you and after you. And that's happening at every fucking higher educated degree issuing accredited university across the known land. And guess what? You end up with all that, whatever, flipping burgers, working retail, assuming that's still a retail in 4 years when you graduate from college, if you're graduating from high school now. Just saying. But what I know, I just talk shit on the internet.
Hey, but in the end, man, you, without sin, go ahead and cast the first stone. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
That's all we're saying. If you're so high and mighty, then go ahead and bust Joe Rogan's head with a stone, and no one will say anything to you. But you got to be honest with yourself. Look within yourself. Hmm? Hmm? Are you without sin? Hmm? How can you fault a man for something he did 11 years ago, in which he's already apologized? Hmm?
Yeah.
Is it what he said? Or is he embarking on something monumentous? Is he about to pull the wool over people's eyes, or remove the wool over people's eyes? Hmm? Is he on the verge of transparency and you are trying to stop that? Is that the real news here? Or is it what he said 11 years ago? This is the question.
Yeah. And I mean, total disclosure. For me, as somebody who does this kind of to a lesser degree than Rogan does, but he is somebody I look to as charting these fucking sometimes unsavory and choppy fucking waters to be able to express yourself in a manner that you're not. I mean, when I first started doing interviews and whatever, I wanted to get on ESPN. I wanted to get on Fox Sports. I wanted to be the thing. I wanted to do the thing. No, not anymore, man. I again, doing your own thing. You know, kind of doing the things that you want to do. Rogan is the perfect votary of that. You know, again, after the fucking the controversial COVID episodes, he had a guy with like what more plates, more weights, or some shit like that, talking about fucking crossfitting and whatever the fuck. Like, if you take this shit seriously, Jesus Christ, man, like, is there no honor? It's I don't know, but I mean the lines have been blurred to an extent that in my lifetime at least, it's to almost a irreversible degree. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck.
He's done more to teach me about nutrition. He's done more to teach me about health and fitness. He's
Mhm.
done, than the government. You know what I mean? In these times of COVID, he's done more to tell me about alternative medicine and how to if I was to get sick, how to come back strong. You know what I mean? What have they taught us but get the shot? What have they taught us but get the shot? They
Yep.
first told us you get the shot, you'll be protected from this virus.
Yep.
Then, as you get the shot, you can still pass it on to other people. Why am I getting the shot then? Why am I getting the shot? I mean, I get the shot, I still pass it on to other people. You told me that it's over once I get the shot, huh? You never told me about I was gonna be feeling like I'm feeling right now, which is why I'm so upset, by the way. Hmm? I used to do 5-minute rounds, 5-minute rounds nonstop, back to back, back to back, back to back. I could barely do 2 minutes now.
Wow.
I could barely do 2 minutes. Hmm? Explain that, Fauci. Explain that. I was fine until I got the jab. Hmm? I could
Yeah.
barely make 2 minutes. And after that 2 minutes, I got to take another 2 minutes to rest before I could do another round. Explain that one to me, Fauci. I was fine until you touched me. Huh?
Yeah, and that's another name, right? In Fauci, where his colleagues, one of his female colleagues, said he's always aspired to be a celebrity, a science celebrity. Which funny, Aisha Raymond and I just reviewed Netflix's Don't Look Up, where Leonardo DiCaprio, in terms of the science world, not so much the doctor world, almost is taking a similar take and plight as what this lady is reporting, who Anthony Fauci or Tony Fauci, as they knew him at the time, was really there. He wants the clout. So, Patton, that wasn't it, General Patton, that wasn't his actual attire. That wasn't a fucking army issued attire. That was a costume that he wanted to show fucking, power and dominance, right? George Washington, if you know, right, him and the reason why he became president, right? He was much larger. I think he stood 6'1" at least, right? And he was a war general in fucking Civil War that we just talked about, right? And he walked into Congress with dressed to the nines, looking like a fucking hero. And they go, we're creating this fucking union with the 13 colonies. Well, we get this guy. Just saying. So again, just do a little bit more before you start attacking. And if you feel the need to attack, maybe you might need to look internally, not at anything else that you see in front of you. Maybe it's something within, And I'm here for you, man. Like, and woman or whatever you identify, transgender. Come on. This is a weird time that I don't think anybody else has a rubric for. We can't compare this time to anything else. You want to compare this shit to the Spanish flu? Well, the stock during the fucking Spanish flu, stock market wasn't having all-time highs. There wasn't 4 companies specifically that are getting record profits. And every company that didn't shut down, the Walmarts, the Amazons, and whatever, record profits across the board. FedEx, all of it. And again, all of those companies that are whatever, left-wing, right-wing people in charge. The shit with Starbucks. They're saying that they got to fucking charge, because of lack of supply shortage or whatever. They want to fucking, charge you more for your coffee and your teas at Starbucks. But they just gave per quarter $20 million for the fucking CEO as a bonus. $20 million for a bonus.
We haven't even touched on it. Man, it's just too much.
It's too much.
It's just too much. I think we should have a part 2.
I think we should have a part just about this. Just about
seriously,
this.
Man.
Yeah,
seriously.
No,
hey, folks, we're gonna plan this out and figure it out, and we're gonna bring a part 2 of this, man, because there's more to be said.
Absolutely. And if you guys have any topics, whether it be fights or beyond, that you want us to kind of maybe touch on or whatever, let's do it, because this is it. It's through ourselves and each other. This is how we're going to figure it out. And this is the way that we have always figured it out, right? Whether we're people in the wilderness, fucking trying to create fire, to now, where we are now with tech and everything like that. No longer Encyclopedia Britannicas. We have the shit on our phone. But again, we have to be that much more diligent, because just because you have it on your phone doesn't mean it's fact. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's fact. You might be skewed. There might be different origin factors that are curating exactly what you see and hear. That might form your opinions. Again, it gets dicey. And yes, they ran the same mass bullshit in 1918 as well. Nope, 100%. Look at when we thought Sputnik was going to happen and the kids at the bomb mass. It's a whole thing. It's a whole fucking thing, man. But again, this has become a Rogan-esque podcast. We're nearing 4 hours here. But obviously, we thank you guys for supporting us in our endeavors, right? To venture, again, and this is one thing that I think we both wanted to be. Yes, we talk about fights, but we talk about other things. That's why myself, I'm an interviewer podcaster. I tend to do some MMA. I tend to do pro wrestling. I love it. Absolutely. But if we fucking talk about something else, that's it. Don't want to be put in the box. It's the internet. It's wild, and it's a way to engage and have civil discourse, to even if we disagree. I disagree with you, you disagree with me, to do it civilly, and let's all be fucking friends about it, And yes, I love and appreciate you both tremendously, as we love and appreciate you, Job and Steve. And again, with that N-word deal, right? Why is that a term of endearment, right? My N-word, my this, whatever. Think of things that could be the N-word in that context could be replaced by my friend, my brother, I love you, whatever. But it's not vogue for us as men to say that to each other openly, with sincerity, without making it weird. Maybe let's normalize that again and get away from the N-word. But also any racial epithet, because there's not, once a race and a culture of people have been lambasted and sometimes even killed, and the last thing that they hear before they meet their maker, if you believe in such a thing, is that word. Now you got to ask yourself whether it's ER or GA, is it worth it? Maybe we spread more love. We introduce more love, more friendship, more whatever, and take this off of the table. Rogan said it's so weird, right? And that was part of the context. So weird that that one word is good for one, minor, group of people and no one else, especially people of Anglo descent. Okay, that's it. Well, fuck it. Let's take out all of it. The things that racial epithets of Asians and Middle Easterns post 9/11, and there's so much, so much, so much. But it starts here. It starts with you. It starts with you. And we're open for discourse and to engage in that discourse. Voodoo, where can they find you on social media?
Definitely on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, No, I don't do Twitch. Snapchat, Twitter. Did I mention Twitter? YouTube, Voodoo Maximus, all day, every day.
And I'm According to Woods, which you can find the According to Woods podcast along with the Voodoo in the Woods podcast on all of the streaming places, except for we should do like an audio thing. I'll research it and whatever. But for now, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch is where you can find, and Twitter is where you can find Voodoo in the Woods, along with bodyslam.net. We might bring that to the Grappling Network as well. So go ahead and check out the Grappling Network, bodyslam.net, and all their social media pages, along with the Voodoo in the Woods YouTube and Facebook pages, along with all of the According to Woods social media pages. Again, it's all love. And apparently, we know more than punchy, kicky, slammy stuff, which I've been put in that fucking box. Oh, you just know MMA. Oh, you just know wrestling. Or you can't talk about MMA. Can't talk about wrestling. You damn sure can't talk about Rogan. Here we are talking about it, man. And we're doing it. And again, if you disagree, that's awesome. Please, because I want to see
Good.
your side of it. It's healthy.
Yeah, let's have a conversation. Let's put it on the table, like we said earlier. Let's put it on the table and talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk. Let's wrestle. Let's wrestle.
Yeah, fucking in the words of the immortal. Yes, in the words of the immortal Bonnie Raitt, who isn't pulling her shit off of Spotify, and I'm grateful for that. But let's give him something to talk about. But you guys be amazing. Until the next time we see you guys, have eventful and prosperous lives, and we will see you later this week with more Voodoo in the Woods. Later.